Chapter 4978. Of course, not all the cultivators. If all the cultivators of the Profound Alliance had left, how could the Yilin continent still have the 9 transformations golden core cultivation technique? Long Shensi laughed. However, even if not all the cultivators had left, most of them had left. Because after the space passage opened, the cultivators who cultivated the 9 transformation golden core all felt that the heaven and earth spiritual energy of the 10,000 demon realm was suitable for their cultivation. Only a small number of cultivators who did not want to leave their homeland stayed. And the result? Holy Mother of Earth Spirit asked, is the Xian Alliance of the 10,000 demon realm particularly powerful now? The Xian Alliance of the 10,000 demon realm was destroyed long ago. Reverend Jin Sheng, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. How is that possible? Holy Mother of Earth Spirit said anxiously, that is the Xian Alliance, the same existence as the Heaven Alliance. And who told you they were destroyed? Reverend Jin Sheng said coldly, the 10,000 demon realm, as the name suggests, is the 10,000 demon realm. In a world where demons roam freely, can the human race survive? We can't cross the realm, not because we don't have the strength to cross the realm. It's because we haven't found the space passage to cross the realm. If there is a stable passage, we can cross the realm. But what about after crossing the realm? We are facing a different world, a different heaven and earth spirit chi, and a different enemy. Are we confident that we can survive? Reverend Jin Sheng is right. Long Shensi said for thousands of years, many seniors of the Heaven Alliance, and even the Tao Alliance, had the opportunity to cross the realm to the 10,000 demon realm. Of course, many seniors could not return safely, but there were some who returned. According to these seniors who returned, they had never seen the human race in the 10,000 demon realm, and there were seniors who were injured by the great saints of the demon race. According to these great saints of the demon race, 20 to 30% of the humans who moved to the 10,000 demon realm died in some wasteland. Most of them went to the place where the demon race gathered and built their own foundation. But the human race was an outsider after all. Although the Xian Alliance cultivators fought tenaciously and tried their best to survive, after tens of thousands of years, these cultivators were still killed by the demon race. Not many of them were left. Of course, the specific situation is unknown. Even the great saints of the 10,000 demon realm may not know. Taoist Master Jin Sheng said, but from then on, the 10,000 demon realm became a taboo of the Tao sects, and no one mentioned it again. As he spoke, Reverend Jin Sheng looked down at the bottom of the forbidden grounds and continued. So, Holy Mother of Earth Spirit, even if you sense that the forbidden grounds is the demon realm, I'm afraid we can't casually enter. Holy Mother Earth Spirit hesitated for a moment before asking, Then why didn't Senior May return to the Yilin continent? How can crossing realms be as easy as we think? Using spirit treasures to lure Profound Alliance cultivators across realms is not a divine ability that we know of. Long Shensi smiled bitterly. Besides, there's no turning back. Since we're already in the 10,000 demon realm, it's almost impossible to come back. However, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit still shook her head and said, Lord Alliance Leader, times have changed. Previously, we did not dare to cross the border because the Yilin continent had a way to survive. But now that the chi of heaven and earth has changed, our cultivation path has been blocked. If there is a chance, we can go to the demon realm. 1 or 2 cultivators are courting death. Long Shensi laughed. Unless we take Senior May's space spirit treasure, all the cultivators of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance will move into the demon realm. Yang Xia smiled bitterly and said, Can this old man say, Lord Alliance Master, are you daydreaming? Haha, of course. Long Shensi clapped his hands and laughed. I mentioned Profound Alliance's crossing to remind everyone that crossing realms is not an easy thing. Unless it's a desperate situation, it's better not to think about it. Forget it, fellow Taoist Jin Sheng. Take out your spirit weapon. Although we're not crossing realms, we still have to suppress the power of this realm. Fellow Taoists, Reverend Jin Sheng heard and said, I've already refined the spirit weapon. I wonder if you're familiar with the technique to activate it? Holy Mother of Earth Spirit curled her lips and said, Reverend Jin Sheng, although you're one of the few cultivators in the Heaven Alliance who can refine spirit weapons, you don't have to look down on us like this, right? We all have our own spirit weapons. Reverend Jin Sheng smiled slightly. With a wave of his cloak, several fist-sized green light balls fell in front of Long Shensi, Kong Chong, Yang Xia, and Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. Although the heaven wind forbidden land was howling and the power of the realm was surging, the green light was not extinguished by the power of heaven and earth. Instead, it was even brighter. Reverend Jin Sheng said proudly, the spirit weapon I'm refining today is different from what you know. So if you haven't familiarized yourself with the technique, I advise you to familiarize yourself with this spirit weapon first. Seeing a strange spirit weapon a few inches in size appear in the green light ball, Holy Mother of Earth Spirit couldn't help but gasp and exclaim, Reverend Jin Sheng, this isn't my Dao Sex spirit weapon. Kong Chan also fixed his eyes on it. Sure enough, the strange spirit weapon was like a strange beast. The strange beast's body was like a tiger, but this tiger had 8 heads, and each head was in the shape of a human. What's more, there were actually 10 tails at the end of the tiger. Moreover, the light of this spirit weapon flickered, and a kind of magnificence that could suck people's souls appeared strangely. Occasionally, the hurricane would pass through the light and blow on the spirit weapon, and the spirit weapon would twist as if it was alive, and a whistling sound that pierced straight into the Naiwan Palace was instantly produced. This is a soul weapon, Yang Xia cried out and pointed at the strange beast. This is the great Wu Shaman of Wuming Mountain. Fellow cultivators. Reverend Jin Sheng's expression couldn't be seen, but his voice was clearly filled with arrogance. He said, don't be blinded by one leaf. This spirit weapon looks similar to a soul weapon, but in fact, I'm just borrowing the body of the Great Wind Shaman and using my Dao Sex method of refining spirit weapons to refine the core. In essence, it's still my Dao Sex spirit weapon. Long Shensi waved his hand and took the spirit weapon. The dark green brilliance on the spirit weapon immediately covered his right hand like ink, but Long Shensi could clearly see that under the dark green brilliance, strands of golden threads were as warm as the sun. Long Shensi activated his magic power according to the method given by Reverend Jin Sheng. Buzz buzz. A series of rumbling sounds came from the spirit weapon, and the great Wu Shaman's body suddenly expanded. Long Shensi felt as if the hurricane within a few miles to the left was under his control. Good, Long Shensi praised. Fellow cultivator Jin Sheng's refining technique is indeed amazing. Thank you for the praise, Lord Alliance Leader. Reverend Jin Sheng replied indifferently and said to Yang Xia and the others, everyone, familiarize yourselves with the spirit weapon first. Wait for me to observe the wind and the power of the realm in this heaven wind forbidden land. Then we'll activate the spirit weapon together to suppress it. Okay, Kong Chong, the Earth Spirit Holy Mother, Yang Xia, and the others did not dare to delay. They hurriedly activated their magic power to familiarize themselves with their respective spirit weapons, while Reverend Jin Sheng activated his body. His cloak was filled with strands of black chi, and he rushed to the bottom of the Forbidden Land. Senior, Reverend Shiyu saw that everyone had something important to do, and hurriedly said in a low voice, it seems that today's matter is very important. Junior's strength is too low. If I stay here any longer, I'm afraid I'll affect your important matter. That's true. Yang Xia looked at everyone who was waiting for him and nodded. I'll send you out. However, just as Yang Xia was about to activate his body, Long Shensi raised his eyes and looked at Reverend Shiyu, frowning. Fellow cultivator Yang, we're about to make a move. Why do you want to create another problem? Let Shiyu stay here. No matter what, he's still at the late stage of the Great Ascension Realm. If anything happens later, he can help. Yes, I understand. Yang Xia thought for a moment, nodded, and then said to Reverend Shiyu, Shiyu, there's no need for you to do anything. You only need to wait here. If anything happens, you can lend a hand and wait for me. Yes, Junior understands. Reverend Shiyu was somewhat helpless. He looked around, raised his hand, and waved. A magic treasure that looked like a jade plate flew into the air and covered his body. He said, I'm afraid that Senior will activate this spirit treasure in a while. Junior will wait by the side. All right, Yang Xia exhorted again. This heavenly wind forbidden land is extremely dangerous. Don't be careless, and don't go too far away from me. Junior understands. Reverend Shiyu replied, and activated his body to stay 100 feet away from Yang Xia. He didn't dare to fly too far away. He had followed Yang Xia deep into the core of this heavenly wind forbidden land. Along the way, he had seen many wind tunnels and other things. He knew that with his great ascension realm cultivation, it wasn't enough to deal with these dangers. After a full meal, Reverend Jin Sheng flew out from the depths of the hurricane and the laws of heaven and earth. The cloak around his body had dimmed a lot. Everyone, Reverend Jin Sheng looked around at everyone and said, Are you all familiar with the techniques and spirit treasures? Of course. Kong Chong and the others didn't dare to be negligent, and they all answered seriously. Everyone was a supreme cultivator in the late stage of Tribulation Passing Realm. Reverend Jin Sheng's words were merely an order, a reminder, and a preparation. After hearing everyone's answer, Reverend Jin Sheng raised his hand. Wong, a spirit treasure that was a few feet in size was taken out. Aside from the size, the style of the spirit treasure was exactly the same as the ones everyone was using. As Taoist Master Jin Sheng formed a hand seal, the spirit treasure soared into the sky, emitting a monstrous aura that enveloped an area of 100 miles. The spirit treasures in everyone's hands also emitted a rumbling sound as they fled into the distance. Set up the formation. Long Shenxi roared, and his figure quickly retreated. Yang Xia, Kong Chong, and the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit also flew in the direction of the spirit treasures in their hands. In just a short moment, the four of them stood in the four directions of east, west, north, and south. As they formed hand seals and activated their magic power, their respective spirit treasures also soared into the sky. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Thank you for all forms of support. Thank you for the support represented by Reverend Shao and the other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4979. Quick! The five of them chanted the incantation in unison. Rumble. Loud rumbling sounds could be heard from the 5 Tian Wu spirit treasures. The dazzling rings of light appeared one after another, and the spirit treasures expanded rapidly. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the Tian Wu spirit treasure in the center had expanded to several hundred zhang tall, and the other Tian Wu spirit treasures around it had expanded to several hundred zhang tall. Every spirit treasure emitted many rings of light, and as the rings of light flashed, they controlled the heavenly wind and even the shattered space. The terrifying hurricanes and shock waves from before were slowly being tamed. Not only that, the rings of light rotated and intertwined with each other, surging towards the Tian Wu spirit treasure. Gradually, they formed a huge ring of light. Although this ring of light was not fully formed, it had already enveloped the core of the heavenly wind forbidden land. Under the demonic green light, the heavenly wind in the heavenly wind forbidden land began to calm down. Seeing that the ring of light was about to form, Taoist Master Jin Sheng's figure soared into the sky and landed below the Tian Wu spirit treasure. Following the incantation, Taoist Master Jin Sheng's body flashed with dark green lightning. His entire body slowly expanded until it was more than 3,000 zhang tall. He was like a god. Everyone, Taoist Master Jin Sheng opened his mouth, and his voice was like thunder. Everyone, give it your all. Success or failure depends on this. Roar. Long Shenxi and the other three roared in unison. Ignoring the loss of their lifespan, they circulated their magic power. Boom, 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 boom. 4 earth-shattering sounds rang out, and the 4 Tian Wu spirit treasures emitted powerful rings of light like stars. The 4 rings of light rushed towards the Tian Wu spirit treasure in the center. Wherever the 4 rings of light passed, the scattered light from before was swept away. An absolute sealing force gradually formed below Taoist Master Jin Sheng's body. Ku! Seeing that the 4 halos were about to reach him, Taoist Master Jin Sheng roared and uttered a strange syllable. Then, the dark green lightning around his body surged from his feet and rushed straight to the top of his head. When it reached the top of his head, Taoist Master Jin Sheng raised his hands and formed a seal at the same time. A dark green lightning ring appeared in his hands. Finally, Taoist Master Jin Sheng's hands landed on the Tian Wu spirit treasure's 8 heads. Boom! Lightning flashed and thunder roared. A huge halo was born from the Tian Wu spirit treasure. At the same time, the halos from the 4 guardian spirit treasures also flew over and merged together. Buzz, buzz. The halo suddenly descended from the Tianwu spirit treasure and flew towards the forbidden land of Tianfeng. A power that could seal the sky and earth came out of the halo and covered the forbidden land of Tianfeng. The forbidden land of Tianfeng was covered by the halo. The forbidden land of Tianfeng was covered by the halo. The forbidden land of Tianfeng and the forbidden land of Tianfeng stopped. The forbidden land of Tianfeng and the forbidden land of Tianfeng stopped. Soon, a glittering and magnificent crack in the interface was about to be revealed. Under the magnificent light, the previously awe-inspiring Reverend Jin Sheng's Dharma body rapidly shrank, as if it had consumed too much of its Dharma power. That's it, that's it. Suddenly, Kong Chong, who had been staring at the halo without blinking, shouted loudly. His body shook, and he gave up the Tianwu spirit treasure and rushed towards the seemingly calm realm crack. Where? Yang Xia was taken aback. He looked at the realm crack in confusion. Although the forbidden land of Tianfeng and the forbidden land of Tianfeng were colliding with each other, colorful lights flashed, and all kinds of terrifying fluctuations were produced, he did not sense the aura that Kong Chong had mentioned earlier. Yang Xia shouted in a low voice, somewhat surprised. At the same time, the corner of Reverend Shiyu's mouth twitched faintly. An indescribable expression appeared in his eyes. Boom! Kong Chong had just moved, but he had not even landed 100 feet. Suddenly, outside the 4 Tianwu spirit treasures, a rumbling sound came from the void. 6 figures flew out like ghosts. 5 of them rushed towards the 5 Tianwu spirit treasures, and the last one rushed towards the realm crack faster than lightning. Not good. Although the 6 figures were fast, and everyone's attention was focused on the realm crack, they were not on guard. But after all, everyone was a supreme cultivator. How could they not know that there was a change in the void? Yang Xia cursed inwardly. He reached out his hand to control the Tianwu spirit treasure above his head. But at this moment, the figure flying in front of him had already crossed the void and appeared in front of him. Wasn't it his most familiar enemy, Wanderer Fubo? And as itinerant Fubo approached, a blob of aqueous light suddenly flew out from his chest. A slender but ferocious-looking mermaid flew out of the aqueous light. She opened her mouth and sent a surge of aqueous light at Yang Xia. The Taoist Alliance? Damn it, why are they here? Yang Xia turned pale with fright. He raised his hand to activate his magic power to deal with the attack. At the same time, he hurriedly looked down. He saw that Reverend Ji Yan had already crossed the halo and rushed into the realm crack. It seemed that he had arrived much earlier than Kong Chong. Yang Xia was facing Wanderer Fubo. How could the other cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance be lucky? Kong Chong had only flown down 300 meters when the patriarch of the Yi family arrived in the form of light. He waved a jade rui in his hand and blocked Kong Chong's body. The jade rui's light was like a sword, and the tip of the sword could pierce through the void. Even someone as powerful as Kong Chong did not dare to move forward recklessly. He could only wave his hand, and a 5-colored light fell and blocked the Jade Rui. He looked very surprised. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit was looking at the direction of the halo, but her intuition made her startled when the change occurred. Before Fairy Mo Yun, who was attacking her, could get close to her, a fist-sized green mark on her snow-white left arm suddenly emitted a halo. Other strange objects similar to green vines rushed out of the halo and rushed into the air like a huge net. It was the spiritual plant Yin Yong that the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit had sealed on her left arm. As soon as the Yin Yong appeared, a cold and earthy aura permeated the area within 50 kilometers. Even the spiritual chi of heaven and earth showed signs of being blocked. Without any accident, Fairy Mo Yun crashed into it. Damn it! Fairy Mo Yun cursed in a low voice. She did not want to face this female cultivator with the psychic technique. Unfortunately, she was the only woman among all the cultivators, so she could only choose the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. Seeing that the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit had released the spiritual plant, she did not dare to be careless. She pointed her left hand, and a red, golden hammer rushed out. The hammer shadow was like a mountain, and it crashed toward the Yin Yong with a rumble. At the same time, Fairy Mo Yun waved her right sleeve. Quack, quack. With a chuckle, a parrot with flame-like feathers flew out. The parrot opened its mouth and laughed. It looked at the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit and teased, "What a beautiful girl." However, with this sound, the parrot flapped its wings. Woo! Flames gushed out from its wings and ignited the Yin Yong within a few kilometers. The Yin Yong twitched violently, as if it was in extreme pain. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's body trembled slightly, and an earthy yellow mist gushed out from her body. A heavy aura gushed out from the mist. Long Shensi was the #1 expert of the Heaven Alliance, so his opponent was naturally Old Man Gu Qiong. Although Old Man Gu Qiong seemed to be slower than Wanderer Fu Bo and the others, he arrived first. When Long Shensi looked up at the sky, Old Man Gu Qiong's body had already elongated and twisted like a bolt of lightning. In a few breaths of time, he had already approached Long Shensi. Just as Long Shensi raised his hands in surprise, layers of blood, runes appeared on his wrists and surged toward his body. Roar! Old Man Gu Qiong let out a low roar and raised his hand. A flame shadow that was several acres large rushed out from his hand. It shattered the void and imprisoned the space around Long Shensi. This imprisonment was a bit strange. As soon as the restriction appeared, tiny flames appeared around Long Shensi and pierced toward him. The blood runes that looked like they were being washed by spring water began to gradually collapse under the flames, and waves of spiritual power scattered from Long Shensi's body. Roar! Long Shensi seemed to be caught off guard, but he let out a roar and his body suddenly expanded. The dragon horn on his head flashed with 9-colored light, and this light broke through the flames and opened up space. A 9-colored dragon rushed out of Long Shensi's body and pounced toward Old Man Gu Qiong with its claws and fangs. As for Reverend Jin Sheng, because he had activated the Heavenly Wu Spirit Treasure, his body shrank rapidly, and his cloak fluttered slightly in the wind. As the light dimmed, Yu Hongzi arrived on the wind. He didn't even get close to Reverend Jin Sheng as he waved his hands in the air. A gust of wind condensed to form a sword of wind. Following a flash of clear light on Yu Hongzi's arm, the sword of wind suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared a few breaths later, the sword of wind had already pierced Reverend Jin Sheng's back. The space where the sword of wind landed collapsed as a force that could shatter mountains tore Reverend Jin Sheng's cloak out of shape. The 6 supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance had prepared for a sneak attack, and they had the advantage in numbers. Not only was the spiritual item that the 5 cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance had been looking for going to fall into Reverend Jian's hands, but the 5 cultivators themselves were about to be injured by the cultivators of the Tao Alliance. However, at this moment, something strange happened. A cloud of black gas gushed out from the cloak that had been deformed by Yu Hongzi's wind sword, and this black gas turned into the shape of a human face. The facial features of this face were very clear, and it even looked somewhat handsome. The face looked at Yu Hongzi and grinned. Yu Hongzi, you've been tricked. What? When Yu Hongzi saw that he had succeeded and heard such a voice, he could not help but be shocked. However, before he could do anything, the cloak suddenly disappeared, and the face in the black gas was once again hidden. Taoist Master Jin Sheng had already turned around at some point, and in a hand hidden under the cloak, another heavenly Wu spirit treasure appeared in front of Yu Hongzi. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give a recommendation vote, collect it, or give it a tip. Thank you for the support represented by Reverend Xiao and other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4980. Why is there another spiritual treasure? Yu Hongzi seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. Ignoring the wind sword that was about to pierce Reverend Jin Sheng's chest, he shouted, "Fellow cultivators, run. We've fallen into the Heavenly Alliance's ambush." Along with this cry, Yu Hongzi's body disappeared as if it was fading. Now that things have come to this, how can I escape in time? Reverend Jin Sheng looked at the wind sword that was about to pierce his chest and said flatly. He raised his hand, and the heavenly Wu spiritual treasure, which was several feet long, turned into a stream of light and soared into the sky. As the stream of light broke through the sky, the surrounding void was torn apart, and countless black and white shadows danced in the air like small snakes. In this light shadow, the wind sword once again turned into a hurricane and scattered in the air. Boom! The heavenly Wu spirit treasure collided with a huge heavenly Wu phantom in the air, and a deafening sound rang out. As this sound rang out, a strange green light rushed out from the heavenly Wu spirit treasure's 10 tails and swept towards the halo that suppressed the power of the realm. This green light fell much faster than the halo and landed on the halo almost as soon as it appeared. Although the green light brushed past Reverend Ji Yin, who was falling rapidly, he did not feel anything strange. Of course, Reverend Ji Yin knew that he had fallen into the Heavenly Alliance's trap, so he did not dare to stay. As the green light flashed, he also wanted to teleport away while the space was still calm. When the green light landed on the halo, nothing special happened. It merely dyed the entire halo green. However, the moment the halo turned green, it was as if tens of thousands of bulls were roaring at the same time. The green halo suddenly soared into the sky and turned into hundreds of light thorns that pounced on the humans in the sky above the forbidden area. In particular, the realm storm and space force that had been suppressed by the halo gushed out like a volcanic eruption and pushed the light thorns toward Old Man Gu Qiong and the others. Although Ji and Jinren and Yu Hongzi had already teleported away, they were still forced out of the void by the power of heaven and earth. Seeing the surging realm storm, everyone's expression changed drastically. Even Xiao Hua could not resist this realm storm. So how could Old Man Gu Qiong and the others survive? In the blink of an eye, the storm had already arrived beneath everyone. The members of the Heavenly Alliance were naturally prepared. They did not need to activate any Dharma power. The Tianwu spiritual treasure above their heads had already shown green brilliance to protect them. Although Yang Xia looked at the soaring realm storm with a puzzled expression, he already understood that there must be a secret that he did not know about. However, when he thought of the secret, Yang Xia thought of another person. Without hesitation, he cried out, "Not good!" Shiyu, Taoist Master Shiyu had left Yang Xia earlier and stood outside the heavenly Wu Spirit Treasure Array formation. At this time, the realm storm soared into the sky. With his late Great Ascension realm cultivation, how could he resist it? However, when Yang Xia turned to look at Taoist West Moon, his face became even uglier. This was because Taoist Master Shiyu was standing in the direction that Reverend Ji Yin had escaped. Although Reverend Ji Yin had not escaped from the realm storm, he was not far away from Taoist Master Shiyu. Unfortunately, the realm storm was too powerful. Before the storm could drown Taoist Master Shiyu, the aftermath of the realm storm had already injured him. If Taoist Master Shiyu had not released a bell-shaped spiritual treasure to protect him, he would have been a cold corpse by now. Even so, Taoist master Shiyu's spiritual treasure could no longer block the realm storm. The power of the realm storm had already torn apart the bell-shaped spiritual treasure's light shadow and crazily hit the spiritual treasure's body. Taoist master Shiyu could only protect Taoist master Shiyu. The two of them were tumbling in the realm storm like bullets. If Taoist master Shiyu was already in such a state, how could the other cultivators fare any better? When old man Gu Qiong heard Yu Hongzi scream, he did not escape at all. Instead, he slapped the top of his head. With a bang, a square fragment rushed out. This fragment slid through the air and turned into a blue stone that was dozens of feet large before falling under old man Gu Qiong's feet. Seeing old man Gu Qiong's quick reaction, Long Shensi admired him. All of this was his plan. He naturally knew how powerful the realm storm was, so he did not chase after it and only hid under the Tianwu spirit treasure. However, when he saw old man Gu Qiong activate the spirit treasure, he was shocked. Indiscriminate destruction? How did it end up in your hands? Old man Gu Qiong did not answer Long Shensi, because the realm storm had already drowned him. Although the indiscriminate destruction spirit treasure protected old man Gu Qiong, no one could match the power of the realm storm, not even old man Gu Qiong. He was like a small boat floating helplessly in the storm. The Yi family ancestor, Wanderer Fu Bo, Yu Hongzi, and Fairy Mo Yin all released their magic treasures and spirit treasures to protect themselves, but they were all injured by the realm storm. Of course, the Tianwu spirit treasure began to shake violently under the impact of the realm storm, and its light became weaker and weaker. Withdraw. Seeing that the heavenly Wu spirit treasure was unable to hold on any longer, Long Shensi let out a low roar and raised his hand to point at the heavenly Wu spirit treasure above his head. Ka-ka-ka. A series of cracking sounds came from the heavenly Wu spirit treasure. The 10 tails that were swaying in the storm broke apart inch by inch, and the 8 human faces also shattered into pieces. When the tiger-shaped shell fell off, a golden dragon shape appeared from the core of the heavenly Wu spirit treasure. Seeing the dragon shape appear, Long Shensi did not dare to be careless. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. The moment the essence blood touched the spirit treasure, it immediately seeped into it. Furthermore, the dragon blood dharma body that had hidden in his physical body due to the appearance of the realm storm rushed out again. Roar! Long Shensi's dragon blood dharma body actually left his body and landed in the spiritual treasure. Oh my god! Kong Chong obviously didn't know that there was a dragon-shaped core inside the Tianwu spiritual treasure. Moreover, this dragon-shaped core was so ferocious. He couldn't help but cry out in excitement. This is a spiritual treasure that was tailor-made for the Alliance Master. The dragon blood celestial body controlled the dragon-shaped spirit treasure, but did not rush toward old man Gu Qiong or the realm storm. Instead, it rushed toward the Tianwu spirit treasure that was closest to it. In the realm storm, the dragon-shaped spirit treasure was like a rainbow, and its momentum was unparalleled. In just a moment, the Tianwu spirit treasure was shattered, and the 4 dragon-shaped spirit treasures were swallowed by Long Shensi's dragon blood celestial body. Roar! After the 5 dragon-shaped numinous treasures fused into one, they raised their heads and roared angrily. Dragon roars filled the air, and as they roared, the dragon-shaped numinous treasures expanded rapidly. They began to swim rapidly, and in an instant, their heads and tails connected. The dragon-shaped spirit treasure flew faster and faster until it finally formed a golden ring. A vast and unparalleled restrictive force was generated again, and Long Shensi's dragon blood celestial body left the dragon-shaped spirit treasure and returned to Long Shensi's body. Buzz! The ring formed by the dragon-shaped spirit treasure fell again and covered the realm storm under the heavenly wind forbidden zone. The magnificent light and shadow appeared again. Now that the realm storm had calmed down, Elder Gu Qiong and the others reappeared above the heavenly wind forbidden zone. Not only were Elder Gu Qiong and Ji Yan in a sorry state, but Yu Hongzi and the others were pale. The confident Long Shensi knew that these cultivators of the Tao alliance were injured. As for why they didn't escape, he and Elder Gu Qiong knew that it was too late. They might not be able to escape under the full force of the experts of the Heavenly Alliance, so they might as well fight to the death with their numbers. However, Long Shensi still had a smile on his face and said leisurely, Taoist Gu Qiong, what does the realm storm feel? The wind is blowing before the storm. Long Shensi, are you going to make it rain again? Elder Gu Qiong smiled and waved his hand. Ji Yin, the Yi family ancestor, Wanderer Fu Bo, Yu Hongzi, and Fairy Mo Yin spread out. The Yi family ancestor charged towards Kong Chong. Wanderer Fu Bo charged towards Yang Xia. Yu Hongzi and Fairy Mo Yin flew towards Holy Mother Earth Spirit. Ji Yin landed in front of Reverend Jin Sheng, and Elder Gu Qiong himself charged towards Long Shensi. Damn it, why didn't you let the realm storm kill these shameless cultivators of the Tao Alliance? Holy Mother Earth Spirit cursed when she saw Yu Hongzi and Fairy Mo Yun surrounding her. Although Yu Hongzi and Fairy Mo Yun were injured, they were still late-stage tribulation-passing cultivators. How could she be their match? Moreover, she knew that after the two of them joined forces to injure her, they would join forces with another person to attack the other cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance. The Heavenly Alliance was going to suffer today. Long Shensi, I didn't expect you to set up such a trap in the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Zone. Elder Gu Qiong landed in front of Long Shensi and took out a chain-like spiritual weapon. He had a mocking smile on his face. It's a pity that you thought of the beginning but not the end, right? However, I'm very curious. How did you know that we would be here? Fellow Taoist Gu Qiong, you overestimated Taoist Ji Yan's arrangement. Long Shensi leisurely looked at Taoist Shiyu, who was hiding in the distance, and replied indifferently. Although Shiyu is a seed that the Heavenly Alliance placed in the Tao Alliance, he grew up in the Tao Alliance and cultivated in the Tao Alliance. In order to not be discovered by the Tao Alliance, the Heavenly Alliance didn't dare to use any restrictions. Apart from the contact that occurs once every 10 years, the Heavenly Alliance doesn't know what happened to Shiyu. Humans are the strangest thing. After a long time, they will forget even their roots. There's a saying in the mortal world, a close neighbor is better than a distant relative. This old man doesn't think that the thin bloodline of the Heavenly Alliance can restrain him from teaching the Chongxi sect. Vote for it. Vote for it. Give a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Thank you for the support represented by Taoist Xiao and the other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4981. So you tried to probe Shiyu after he returned? Immortal Ji Yin asked Long Shensi as he stared at Immortal Jin Sheng's shadowy figure under the cloak. At this moment, the dragon-shaped spiritual treasure had covered the realm crack, and the heavenly wind had gradually calmed down. Yes, there must have been a lot of probing, but Shiyu is a cultivator in the late stage of the Great Ascension realm. Unless we use some extreme methods, how can we find out the secret in his heart? Long Shensi nodded. But if we use those methods, it would be a waste of Shiyu's Great Ascension realm cultivation. So you spread the news about the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Area? Immortal Ji Yin sighed. Yang Xia also realized what was going on and shouted, Alliance Master, I only said it casually. How could you be so sure it was Shiyu? It's very simple. Long Shensi laughed. Aside from you, all of us knew about this arrangement. That's why we didn't tell anyone. Only Shiyu knew. Thus, if someone from the Tao Alliance came, it was definitely Shiyu who leaked the news. Not necessarily. Although he saw Immortal Ji Yin saving Immortal Shiyu, Yang Xia was still unwilling to believe that it was Immortal Shiyu who leaked the news about the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Area. He said, I didn't keep it a secret. Maybe other people know about it too. Yang Xia, you don't have to rely on luck anymore. Long Shensi said indifferently. The truth is in front of us. She was a spy sent back by the Tao Alliance. Although he still uses Mei Xuanling's name, he's actually a disciple of the Chongxi sect. Immortal Shiyu heard this from afar and felt extremely embarrassed. He knelt down in the air and kowtowed. This junior has let senior down. Alas, it's not your fault. Yang Xia seemed to be a little sad. He waved his hand and said, I trusted you too much. The more Yang Xia did not scold Taoist West Moon, the more Taoist West Moon felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. After all, ever since the Tao Union returned to the Heaven Union, the Heaven Union had given him a lot of honor. Yang Xia had also given him a lot of care and concern. These were like invisible poisonous snakes that were devouring his Tao heart. Long Shenxi glanced at Taoist Master Shiyu and Yang Xia before looking at old man Gu Qiong. He said coldly, However, this old man knew that you would come to ambush us, so I asked Taoist Master Jin Sheng to refine 2 spiritual treasures to lure you into the trap. I also didn't tell Yang Xia about Taoist Master Jin Sheng. Humph! When I heard the news from West Moon that the 4 of you came to the forbidden area of Heavenly Wind, I knew that there must be more of you. Jian's spiritual master retorted, That's why I summoned 6 supreme cultivators. So, even if our Heavenly Alliance has another sage, Jin Sheng, even if we have injured most of you, we will still fall into your trap? Long Shenxi smiled and asked. Upon hearing Long Shenxi's question, Jian's spiritual master's heart skipped a beat. He knew that this was not good, but he had used a secret skill to ambush old man Gu Qiong in the void. When they appeared later, they did not find other cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance nearby. Could it be that the Heavenly Alliance had other ambushes? At this moment, a strange laughter came from Taoist Master Jin Sheng's cloak again. The cloak was lifted, and a thin cultivator with a pale face flew out from the black smoke. There was an indescribable sneer on his face. Bright Moon Householder? Jian's spiritual master's face turned pale when he saw this cultivator, who was at the unifying path primordial spirit realm. He did not dare to stand still in the air anymore. He quickly retreated and exclaimed, When did you come out of seclusion? Since you have come to the Heavenly Alliance's Heavenly Wind forbidden area, as the deputy alliance leader of the Heavenly Alliance, how can I not come out of seclusion to welcome you? Kill! The cultivator named Bright Moon Householder said coldly. After he stepped out, he did not give Ji Yin any chance to catch his breath. His whole body emitted bright moonlight, and he waved his hand. A scythe-shaped spiritual treasure broke through the air and turned into a dazzling light that was 10,000 feet long as it slashed toward Ji Yin's spiritual master. The brilliant light was so cold and sharp that even the heavenly wind couldn't block its killing intent. The brilliant light split open the space and was about to land on Reverend Ji Yan's bell-shaped spirit artifact. However, the bell-shaped spirit artifact also created layers of afterimages and blocked the surrounding space. Long Shenxi and the others roared when they saw Bright Moon Householder attacking. Taoist Master Jin Sheng even moved his body to help the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. A great battle between the supreme cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance and the Heavenly Alliance was about to break out. Wait! Right at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Then, with a loud bang, the earth and the mountains shook. Violent waves of air came from outside the area where they were facing each other. They rushed toward the crowd and instantly annihilated them. In the midst of the waves of air, the crowd did not dare to attack rashly. They all activated their spiritual weapons and spiritual treasures to defend themselves. Then, they looked toward the source of the waves of air with puzzlement. However, when they saw the situation in front of them, they were all dumbfounded. They saw that the source of the sound was where Reverend Shiyu had been standing. However, at this moment, Reverend Shiyu did not look like a human anymore. A medium-sized void crack was slowly closing there, and Reverend Shiyu's badly mutilated body was struggling to float on the side of the void crack. Shiyu, Jian's spiritual master looked at him and said in shock, Why did you explode your nascent soul? Martial ancestor, Reverend Shiyu's head was already damaged. However, he still stubbornly said, I was unfilial. I hid it from you since I was young. When you found out my secret, you did not kill me. Instead, you taught me personally. Although I know that you used me to fight against the Heaven Alliance, I'm still grateful. After all, without your guidance, I could not have reached the late stage of the great vehicle realm. However, I'm still a descendant of the Heaven Alliance. I don't want to betray my ancestors, so I completed my ancestors' mission and returned the Tao Alliance's nascent soul to the Tao Alliance. I don't know the Tao Alliance anything. Child. Jian's spiritual master bit his lips lightly. With tears in his eyes, he said in a low voice, "Why did you do this? Although I used you, didn't I make it clear that day? If you don't want to do it, you can do nothing. This old man really treats you as his own nephew." Unfortunately, immortal Shiyu did not answer him. Instead, he looked at Yang Xia with difficulty and said, "Senior, although Junior has returned to the Heavenly Alliance and received many courteous treatment, and also felt the warmth of a descendant of the bloodline, but this warmth and courteous treatment really can't evoke Junior's old memories. I know that I have the bloodline of the Heaven Alliance, but I was raised by the Tao Alliance. I look at the smiles on the faces of the Heaven Alliance brothers, but I also think of the Tao Alliance brothers' concern for me. It's so hard for me. However, I've brought the Tao arts of the Chongyin sect and deceived the Tao Alliance's founding ancestor. I can be considered to have not let down the Heaven Alliance. After that, I'll return the Heaven Alliance's flesh and blood to the Heaven Alliance, and I won't owe the Heaven Alliance anything in the future." Child. Yang Xiao was already sad. Now that he saw immortal Shiyu in such a state, how could he not know that it was the Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance's coercion that had forced this peerless cultivator into a dead end? When he heard this, he felt as if a knife had been twisted in his heart. He abandoned Wanderer Fu Bo and landed beside immortal Shiyu's body in a flash. He carefully supported immortal Shiyu and said in pain, "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have brought you here." Long Shinsi and old man Gu Qiong's expressions changed slightly. After all, he was already a late-stage Mahayana cultivator. If his Tao heart had not been so damaged, he would not have detonated his nascent soul to cut off his escape route. Seniors of the Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance. Immortal Shiyu ignored Yang Xia and continued, "When I returned to the Heaven Alliance from the Tao Alliance, I heard that a senior named Zhang Xiaohua had appeared on the Yilin continent. In his eyes, there was no difference between the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance. There was only the two words Tao Sect and the importance of Tao Sect's inheritance. In order to pass down the inheritance of our Tao Sect's Xianhua under the changes in the heaven and earth spiritual qi, he personally modified the nascent soul cultivation technique and the primordial spirit cultivation technique. He even publicized the two cultivation techniques to the world. If he could see it, how could you not see it? The great tribulation of heaven and earth is coming. If our Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance still cannot work together to break the seal of the heaven sacrificial abyss, our Tao sect, how can we still exist on the Yilin continent? I am only a junior. I am not standing high and cannot see far. I can only say so much. Whether you listen or not, it is up to you seniors. I hope that in my next life, I can reincarnate in a world without the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance. I only want to live a happy life and cultivate painstakingly. My life and cultivation can be for the human race or for my own world. However, I do not want to be in any Tao sect." At this point, immortal Shiyu actually could not catch his breath and was unable to continue. Yang Xia hastily took out a golden core from his bosom and sent it into Taoist Master West Moon's mouth. After a few breaths, Taoist Master West Moon's broken face flushed red again. He looked at Yang Xia and shook his head. "Senior, don't save Junior anymore. Junior's Tao heart is already broken. I no longer have any value in this world. Moreover, there are probably tens of millions of disciples just like me, and their Tao hearts can't possibly be perfect as well. Seniors, if you really feel sorry for your disciples, then listen to me and stop." Alas, Long Shensi, Gu Qiong old man, Bright Moon householder, and Reverend Jian were ready to fight to the death today. However, when they heard Reverend Shiyu's heartfelt words before his death, they were all moved. They looked at each other and sighed. Although they couldn't let down their guard, they moved their bodies and gradually separated. You can thank you for the support represented by Immortal Xiao and other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4982. How could the people of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance not think of giving up? This was especially true after the spiritual chi of heaven and earth appeared. However, after years of hostility, they had long become accustomed to it. The plan that they had set up for thousands of years would occasionally yield results. When the plan was effective, how could they be willing to let their years of hard work go to waste? What they lacked was an opportunity to discuss face-to-face, an opportunity to reach a compromise, and a way to retreat together. Xiao Hua's appearance, the announcement of the spiritual root selection method and the spiritual root cultivation method, and Taoist West Moon's self-destruction and dying words had all contributed to this. The Alliance Masters of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance, as well as the Supreme Cultivators, had begun to size each other up and prepare their words in their hearts. However, in this brief moment of silence, before the dawn of peace arrived, absolute darkness suddenly descended. Boom! Another loud sound was heard as Long Shensi, Old Man Gu Qiong, and the others sighed in their hearts. Just as Taoist West Moon was muttering, Taoist Jin Sheng, who had quietly descended, suddenly rushed toward the golden dragon ring under the heavenly wind forbidden land. His cloaked body suddenly exploded like Taoist West Moon's self-destruction of his nascent soul. The loud sound not only lifted everyone's bodies, but also shook the golden dragon ring. Following this loud explosion, a sharp voice rushed into everyone's ears like a sharp sword. Alliance Master Hao Yu, the cultivators of the Tao Alliance have indeed been fooled and have gathered together. I'll open the restriction in the golden dragon ring and use the power of the realm to kill Old Man Ji Yin and the others. When the Tao Alliance falls into the hands of the Heaven Alliance, don't forget our previous agreement. As he spoke, Taoist Jin Sheng's exploded body turned into a huge demonic shadow. Although the demonic shadow's aura dropped rapidly from the late stage of the crossing tribulation realm, it was still in the demon emperor realm. The demonic shadow turned into a blood-red light and black gas that rapidly rushed into the golden ring of the dragon image. The blood-red light and black gas were like a treasured saber used to slay dragons. Wherever they fell, the huge golden ring was cut apart. The huge dragon image struggled in pain and quickly retreated. When the golden light and the dragon image disappeared, several demonic auras surged, and a demonic weapon covered in blood-red flames was revealed. This demon artifact was different from the demon artifacts Xiao Hua had seen before. Demonic patterns appeared on it, and after devouring the demon emperor's blood shadow and demon chi, they turned into huge demons. These demons soared into the sky and pounced on Venerable Ji Yin and the others with the power of the realm. The scattered demon chi was like ink that dyed the space. Damn it! Seeing this, Venerable Ji Yan's complexion changed greatly. He raised his hand and pointed at Bright Moon Householder, cursing, "Bright Moon, you old thief, I was wondering why you had been in seclusion for so many years. No wonder your heavenly alliance sealed off the sacrificial abyss and didn't allow the nascent soul cultivation method to pass to my Tao Alliance. So, your heavenly alliance is actually crazy enough to cooperate with the devil race to exterminate my Tao Alliance? Is your heavenly alliance still a branch of my Tao sect? Damn it, Bright Moon Householder naturally wanted to say, we were deceived by Reverend Jin Sheng. No, it's the demon's trick. However, when Bright Moon Householder flew out of Reverend Jin Sheng's cloak, the spiritual treasure refined by Reverend Jin Sheng first turned into a heavenly Wu spiritual treasure, then into a dragon-shaped spiritual treasure, and finally revealed its true appearance. It was a demon artifact. How could Venerable Jian, Old Man Gu Qiong, and the other supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance not believe that the Heavenly Alliance was cooperating with the devil race? Moreover, when the demon artifact was born, the demonic flame was already soaring to the sky. Moreover, the realm storm, which had been suppressed just now, attacked again. How could Bright Moon Householder argue with the power of the realm? How could Long Shensi and the others explain themselves? Old Man Gu Qiong, and the others had already launched their attacks. Old Man Gu Qiong waved the spiritual treasures in his hand like a chain, and a series of dreamlike multicolored lights appeared and covered the demon artifact, as well as Long Shensi. Roar! Long Shensi naturally wouldn't resign himself to his fate, and as blood-red light surged around his body, a multicolored golden dragon rushed out. As it roared, it shattered the nearby void. However, when the golden dragon rushed out, the demonic energy in the vicinity rushed into it. Oh no! Long Shensi turned pale with fright. This was because demonic patterns suddenly covered the golden dragon's body, and a terrifying consciousness followed the dragon blood, celestial body, and invaded his consciousness. Long Shensi suddenly realized that when he was controlling the dragon-shaped spiritual treasure, Reverend Jin Sheng's demonic blood had already invaded his bloodline. Damn it! Long Shensi's consciousness became somewhat fuzzy, and the dragon image, which was controlled by the demonic patterns, danced crazily and expanded. The dragon tail entered the void, and it didn't just disturb the core of the heavenly wind forbidden land. It even affected its borders. At the same time, the multicolored dream of the heavens also invaded the void at the Forbidden Land's borders. Chaos. The entire heavenly wind forbidden land was in chaos. The realm storm tore through space, and all kinds of spiritual treasures collided with each other with all their might. The power to tear apart mountains and sever rivers was chaotically rushing to every corner of the Forbidden Land, and a destructive aura poured out from the demonic flames into every corner of the Forbidden Land. Just as the Taoist sect's supreme experts were engaged in a life-and-death battle, where the demonic dragon image's dragon tail was torn apart, and where the dream of the heavens was filled with multicolored dream of the heavens, a spatial crack suddenly appeared. As the light flickered, Xiao Hua stepped through the air with an inexplicably surprised expression. Oh my! Seeing such a chaotic situation, Xiao Hua couldn't help but be speechless. For a netherwind wheel, for the sake of fighting for the chance to enter the Lost Land, Supremes, you don't have to fight so hard, right? Just as Xiao Hua's figure appeared, the chaotic realm force had already engulfed him. The familiar Yilin continent's heaven and earth law and the 10,000 demon realms law of arrays intertwined. Xiao Hua's body involuntarily emitted a dark gold color and slowly expanded. An aura that surpassed the 9th grade origin energy gradually emitted from Xiao Hua's body. Xiao Hua's words were naturally a joke, because his gaze had already landed on the remains of Taoist Master Shiyu. Previously, when Yang Xia flew to Taoist Master Shiyu's side, he had originally raised his hand to support Taoist Master Shiyu. However, when the demonic shadow appeared from within Taoist Master Jin Sheng's cloak, the situation changed again. The demonic weapon turned into a devil head that was mixed in the realm storm and attacked Wanderer Fu Bo. Wanderer Fu Bo was also furious and attacked in anger. Yang Xia was already busy with his own matters, so how could he still care about Taoist Master Shiyu, who was about to die? Therefore, Taoist Master Shiyu's broken body was like a withered leaf in the wind and waves of the realm storm. It was wantonly thrown around and gradually torn apart. Even around his soul that was about to leave his body, there were already a few little devils madly chasing after him. If not for the realm storm blocking them, they would have already pounced over to devour him. This was the final radiance of the setting sun. Taoist Master Shiyu's head that was missing a piece revealed a layer of sickly red. His already muddled mind suddenly became clear for a moment, and when he opened his eyes, he saw Xiao Hua's flickering golden body. Senior Zhang? Under the laws of the Yilin continent and the 10,000 demon realm, Xiao Hua's golden body expanded. His appearance was actually already blurred. However, Taoist Master Shiyu's mind was connected to Xiao Hua's illusion. He shouted, Quickly save my Tao sect, Senior. The Taoist Master Shiyu really wanted to say a few more words and tell the truth of the matter to this Senior Zhang that he had accidentally recognized. Unfortunately, his little bit of life force was completely maintained by Yang Xia's golden core. Now that the golden core's effect had already passed, even if he wanted to say a single word, he couldn't. Seeing Taoist Master Shi Yu's eyes collapsing and the halo of hope being annihilated, Xiao Hua couldn't help but feel heartache. He released his netherworld origin power and absorbed Taoist Master Shi Yu's soul into the inside of the space. He sighed and said, "Don't worry. Since this old man is here, I won't let them kill each other again." After absorbing Taoist Master Shi Yu's soul, Xiao Hua released his divine sense to take a look. Unfortunately, this heavenly wind Forbidden Lands realm storm had been suppressed several times. Now, it was like a wild horse that had broken free of its reins and was incomparably unruly. It had long surpassed the original heavenly wind Forbidden Lands range, and its power had increased by several times. Within 10,000 li, the space was completely twisted and all kinds of destructive fluctuations surged out disorderly. Xiao Hua's divine sense had just been released, but it was already twisted by these fluctuations and the realm storm. It couldn't go very far, not to mention Xiao Hua's divine sense. Even Xiao Hua's aura of 10th grade origin power couldn't suppress the whole place like usual under the power of heaven and earth. Fortunately, Xiao Hua had already achieved the body of law. He could see a few things clearly with the naked eye. Within the realm storm, the experts of Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance each occupied a corner. While fighting each other, they were also resisting the realm storm. They were completely focused and didn't dare to slack off in the slightest. They were afraid that they would fall into the realm storm and be taken advantage of by the enemy. Therefore, they didn't even notice the appearance of Xiao Hua, a great sage of the human race. After Xiao Hua saw it, he couldn't help but feel anxious. It was because it was hard to make a choice in the realm of death. Every supreme cultivator would inevitably act recklessly for their own survival. If he hesitated for a moment, there might be cultivators who would die. Therefore, Xiao Hua roared and waved his hand. The Kunlun mirror appeared in the space. As Xiao Hua raised his hand and pointed, the Kunlun mirror expanded rapidly amidst a buzzing sound. On the surface of the Kunlun mirror, a misty light pillar immediately appeared. It crossed the sky and fell to the bottom of the forbidden land of Heaven Wind, where the realm storm rushed out. However, the realm storm was so powerful. When the realm storm hit the light pillar, it tore it apart. When the realm storm hit the Kunlun mirror also shook violently in the realm storm. Its brilliance suddenly decreased. Fellow Taoists, please show yourselves. Seeing this, Xiao Hua made up his mind. With a thought, the Thunderbolt Immortal and the other clones flew out from the space. Fellow Taoist Devis. Xiao Hua roared. You control the Kunlun mirror and suppress the realm storm. Everyone else, follow I to clean up the mess. Yes, we understand. The clones replied in unison. Their voices didn't travel too far before they were drowned out by the realm storm. However, even though the realm storm drowned out the voices of the clones, it couldn't stop them from reaching the 10th stage of the origin energy realm. In a flash, several clones landed in different parts of the forbidden land of Heaven Wind PS. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qijian to subscribe to support. Vote for a monthly vote. Vote for a recommendation vote. Bookmark, gift, and thank you for all forms of support. Thank you for the support represented by Taoist Xiao and the other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4983. Seeing Xiao Hua leaving with his doppelgangers, the Celestial smacked his lips, held his forehead with one hand, and muttered, "Damn it, isn't it just that I was a bit ruthless? Fellow, I didn't have to treat me like this, right? I haven't exercised my muscles and bones since I woke up. Now that it's so lively, I can only fight against the power of the realm. It's really boring. Who can understand this kind of loneliness?" Although the Celestial was complaining, his tone was full of pride. He understood Xiao Hua's plan in his heart. He knew that activating the Kunlun mirror to suppress the realm storm was the most important thing. Among all the doppelgangers, only he had the strength to do so. Therefore, after the Celestial finished speaking, he didn't dare to be the slightest bit negligent. He looked up to the sky and roared, revealing his celestial body. As the celestial body was created, 3 light pillars from the white skull hit the Kunlun mirror. Boom, boom, boom. The Kunlun mirror, which had already dimmed in the realm storm, suddenly emitted an explosive sound. Inexplicable runes appeared on the surface of the mirror. These runes were densely packed, like a spiderweb. The runes divided the surface of the Kunlun mirror into many fragments, and each fragment flickered with a black and white halo. The Kunlun mirror was originally an ancient object with endless mysteries. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the supremes of various realms to know about it. Ever since Xiaohua obtained the Kunlun mirror, he used it as a magic weapon to activate it. But after a long time, he had more and more tricks up his sleeves. This Kunlun mirror was only used as a cover for the space, only used to store people. He had long forgotten about its original power. Now that the realm storm was rampant in the critical moment, Xiaohua remembered the Kunlun mirror's space travel ability and asked the Celestial to control this ancient object. Sure enough, although Xiaohua and the Celestials still didn't know the true power of the Kunlun mirror, the black and white halo on the Kunlun mirror rolled crazily. In the end, it formed a layer of clouds that was hundreds of miles wide, and a spatial power that was not inferior to the previous Tianwu Lingbao was born, enveloping the nearby space. Seeing this, the Celestial already knew that the power of the Kunlun mirror was enough to withstand today's crisis. Woo-woo, high up in the forbidden area, a whimpering sound suddenly sounded, and a black and white light pillar that seemed to be the beginning of the world crashed down, passing through the realm storm and hitting the realm crack. Seeing the crack appear, a familiar feeling arose from the bottom of his heart. Celestial was slightly stunned. Looking at the crack in the black and white light pillar, he wondered, this spatial fluctuation seems very familiar. Could it be this spatial crack is one of the 9 spatial forces that Fire Phoenix King used to lure us into the ambush? The outline of the space crack was revealed, and it was different from the situation when the spiritual treasure was suppressing it. Not only was there no magnificent brilliance, even the realm storm and the space law fragment were not really suppressed. This was because the beam of light from the Kunlun mirror looked black and white. But in fact, this black and white beam of light was formed by the tens of thousands of broken shadows on the Kunlun mirror. The reason why the Kunlun mirror could travel through space was because it had the ability to communicate with all kinds of space. Every broken shadow was actually a spatial passage. Even the supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance couldn't stop the terrifying realm storm. But when it fell into the black and white light pillar of the Kunlun mirror, it was divided into tens of thousands of storms, and these storms were led to different places by the Kunlun mirror's spatial power. The power of the realm storm had been reduced by more than half. If the Tianwu spiritual treasure and the dragon spiritual treasure were said to be a blockage, then the Kunlun mirror was a blockage. A blockage was a temporary solution, but not a permanent solution. A blockage was a solution to the root of the problem. Therefore, although the realm storm in the heavenly wind forbidden area was not immediately suppressed like before, the wind was getting weaker and weaker. It could no longer cause harm to the supreme cultivators in the forbidden area. Celestial controlled the Kunlun mirror and guided the realm storm and the broken heaven and earth law in the heavenly wind forbidden area. The battle in the forbidden area had already ended. In the place where the laws of the Yilin continent collided with the laws of the 10,000 demon realm, the strength of the supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent was limited. It was impossible for them to reach the peak of the 9th level of essence qi. However, Xiaohua and his clones were able to surpass the 9th level of essence qi. Under such a difference, even if the supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance worked together, how could they be a match for Xiaohua alone? Not to mention that Celestial controlled the Kunlun mirror to clear the realm storm that was harmful to the supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent. Xiaohua and his clones were flying everywhere. At first, they didn't attract the attention of Long Shenxi and the others. However, when the clones got close to the supreme cultivators, these arrogant cultivators were shocked. Under the broken laws of the 10,000 demon realm, the demon Lord Shi's body turned into thousands of demon bodies. Demon flames danced on the demon bodies, and the demon heads roared. The pitch-black halo was shattered into pieces in the realm storm. However, no matter how the realm storm raged, it couldn't disperse the demon Lord Shur's supreme, ferocious flames. Roar! The demon Lord Shur roared crazily. His ferocious flames were 10,000 times more arrogant than the demon heads that were attacking the cultivators of the Tao Alliance. The huge demon body felt like a mountain. Before it attracted the attention of the cultivators, it turned into 9 demon gods. The 9 demon gods landed in 9 different places. The faint demon runes flowed rapidly between the 9 demon gods. It looked like a demon array. However, it had nothing to do with the arrogant aura that enveloped the heavenly wind forbidden land. Facing 4 or 5 demon artifacts that were controlled by demon emperors, the pride in the demon Lord Shur's heart didn't allow him to be too serious. Although the demon Lord Shur wasn't serious, in the eyes of Fairy Mo Yun, Kong Chong, and the other cultivators of the Tao Alliance, it was another difficult test. Fairy Mo Yun, Kong Chong, and the others were shocked when they saw the aura that was even more ferocious than before. Demon Lord? How is this possible? What did the demon realm invade the Yilin continent? How can a demon lord appear in the heavenly wind forbidden land? However, before Fairy Mo Yun, Kong Chong, and the others could be on guard, another shocking change occurred in the heavenly wind forbidden land. Roar! As the 9 demon gods roared in unison, the light beam from the Kunlun mirror began to descend. The demon venerable's aura enveloped the entire forbidden heavenly wind. The demon weapons activated by the demon generals didn't dare to move at all. All the demon flames and blood shadows suddenly retracted under the supreme demon chi. Boom! 9 pitch-black demon chi mixed with the blood shadows descended from the sky. Not only did they land on the 5 demon weapons, they also landed in the 4 directions of the forbidden heavenly wind. Strangely, the demon bodies that were hidden in the 4 directions that hadn't been discovered by the Taoist cultivators trembled and revealed themselves in the demon chi. 4 identical demon emperors were devoured by the demon chi. The demon lord's unruly laughter sounded in the heavenly wind forbidden land. Damn it! So it's Demon Emperor Jingyu from the eastern Ting demon territory. What's wrong with the Yilin continent? Demons have appeared in the 4 demon territories. How come none of you know about it? Are you all incompetent? Following the demon lord's laughter, the 9 demon gods turned into rolling black clouds and flew across the sky towards another direction. In that forbidden land, a demon dragon covered in demon runes stretched its 10,000 zhong long body, as if it wanted to overturn the heavens and the earth. While the Archdevil Sovereign was devouring the devil artifact, the battle between Fairy Mo Yun and the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit had also reached its climax. Fairy Mo Yun was already injured, so when she saw the devil artifact transform into a devil head, she was greatly alarmed. She didn't even think about it before urging her parrot spirit pet to attack first. However, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's spirit summoning technique was also formidable. Just as the parrot flapped its wings, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit's een had already transformed into a gray, misty expanse that blotted out the sky and enveloped Fairy Mo Yun. However, the een couldn't unleash its full power within the realm storm and could only restrain the parrot. Even so, the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit waved a spirit artifact that looked like a tree branch and sent Fairy Mo Yun's body flying with a single strike. Moreover, the space within several dozen kilometers of Fairy Mo Yun was filled with a layer of earthen yellow restriction. No matter how Fairy Mo Yun retreated, the earthen yellow restriction would produce spikes that were over 100 feet long that attacked Fairy Mo Yun's flashing red spirit armor. On top of that, the several hundred feet long devil artifact transformed into a malevolent devil head and broke through the sky. It unexpectedly joined hands with the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit to attack Fairy Mo Yun. The aura of that devil head couldn't compare to that of Fairy Mo Yun, who was at the late stage of the crossing tribulation realm. In fact, Fairy Mo Yun's flowing cloud sleeves cut off the devil head's demonic energy. However, the devil artifact was very sturdy and didn't suffer any damage. The Holy Mother of Earth Spirit didn't attack too fiercely because she felt that there was something fishy about the appearance of the devil artifact. She didn't believe that Bright Moon Householder would collude with the devil race. But right at this moment, the Archdevil Sovereign appeared, and his demonic energy spread everywhere, causing the complexion of the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit and Fairy Mo Yun to change greatly. The two of them simultaneously urged their spirit pets and spirit plants, as well as their innate magical abilities to protect themselves. The strange thing was that the Devil Pillar only devoured the Devil Artifact. Then, Taoist which descended from the sky, whether it was Fairy Mo Yun of the Tao Alliance or the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit of the Heavenly Alliance, they were the supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent. They had seen and experienced a lot, and they had seen all the experts of the human race, the monster race, and the devil race. However, just as they escaped from the shock of the Archdevil Sovereign's aura, Taoist, which transformed into a huge green light curtain and passed through the realm storm and landed on top of their heads. This was a realm storm that even Elder Gu Qiong and Long Shenxi didn't dare to face directly. However, this cultivator who looked like a sorcerer god passed through it so easily. The storm that covered the sun and the moon only seemed to flutter this cultivator's clothes and hair gently. Taoist, which emitted an inexplicably dangerous aura that was more turbulent than a mountain flood and tsunami. It engulfed Fairy Mo Yun and the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. The two of them looked at each other and didn't dare to be careless. They released their spiritual pressure and circulated their magic power to resist the aura together. If their spiritual pressure was like a river, Taoist Witch's aura was like a wave. You can thank you for your support, represented by Spiritual Master Xiao and other fellow Taoists. Chapter 4984. Not only that, when the two female cultivators joined forces, Taoist Witch's figure had already condensed in the sky. Taoist Witch's eyes flashed with a dark green brilliance. He opened his mouth, and several huge green seal characters flew out. A mysterious sound came from the void, and the green seal characters turned into green light and fell into the sky. Countless powerful heaven and earth force suddenly appeared. Rumble. Balls of dark green lightning gathered above their heads and turned into a lightning torrent that was several miles wide. It roared and rushed down. This is a soul cultivator from Wuming Mountain. The two female cultivators who were experienced and knowledgeable realized what was going on when they saw the soul cultivator's aura of the three corpses in thunder. An incredible feeling rose in their hearts at the same time. But how can this soul cultivator's strength surpass the late-stage tribulation passing stage? Under the storm of the three corpses in thunder, neither the parrot nor the Yin Yong dared to resist it directly. They quickly retracted their phantoms and returned to their original forms. As for Fairy Mo Yun and the Earth Spirit Goddess's methods, they were shattered by the three corpses in thunder. Seeing the in thunder pouring down like a tide, the two female cultivators turned pale and prepared to teleport away. But then they realized that the space under the three corpses in thunder had been confined. Damn it! How could the two female cultivators surrender without a fight? They cursed in a low voice and prepared to use their last method to fight with their lives. Rumble! At this moment, the two layers of the three corpses in thunder suddenly shrank and landed in a lightning barrier, separating the two female cultivators. Seeing the ferocious lightning barrier, the two female cultivators didn't dare to take a step forward. Hiss! Suddenly, the two female cultivators seemed to have realized something. They looked up at Taoist Witch, who was standing leisurely in the sky above the lightning fortress. They gasped and said in shock, "Could it be that he's here to ask us to stop?" But to ask us to stop, he has to use such a thunderous method? When Taoist Wu flew towards Fairy Mo Yun and Holy Mother of Earth Spirit, Feng Wu also revealed her demon body. Under the laws of the 10,000 demon realm, countless rays of moonlight seeped out of the laws and entered Feng Wu's body. Taoist Wu had to use his soul technique to avoid the realm storm, but Feng Wu simply flapped her wings and tore the realm storm apart, rushing towards Wanderer Fu Bo and Yang Xia. The battle between Wanderer Fu Bo and Yang Xia was much more brutal than the battle between Fairy Mo Yun and the Earth Spirit Holy Mother. This was especially true for Yang Xia. Because of Taoist West Moon's self-detonation of his nascent soul, his hatred for the Tao alliance grew even deeper. Seeing that a devil artifact had transformed into a devil head and was attacking Wanderer Fu Bo from both sides, he didn't say a word. He activated his magic power and revealed his 9 transformations golden body. He clenched his fists and smashed them towards Wanderer Fu Bo. Although Yang Xia's golden body couldn't withstand the pressure of the realm storm, and the originally bright golden light was gradually obliterated by the storm, wherever Yang Xia's fist landed, the void would still collapse and everything would be destroyed. Previously, Wanderer Fu Bo released the merman to block Yang Xia. Later, because of Taoist West Moon's advice before his death, Wanderer Fu Bo recalled the merman and prepared to leave. However, the devil head suddenly appeared and used the power of the realm storm to attack Wanderer Fu Bo. Wanderer Fu Bo hurriedly ordered the merman to attack Yang Xia again. He waved his hand and took out a jade bottle. As he formed a spell seal, several drops of pre-celestial heavy water flew out from the bottle. After he activated his magic power, they turned into 100 feet in size and shot towards the devil head like meteors. Before the pre-celestial heavy water could block the devil head, Yang Xia's fist had already landed on the water light spat out by the merman on the other side of Wanderer Fu Bo. The water light landed on Yang Xia's fist and landed on Yang Xia's golden body, emitting a sizzling sound. Just as this sound rang out, Yang Xia's fist disappeared in the water light. When it reappeared, it had already landed in front of the merman's towering chest. The merman turned pale with fright. It couldn't care less about spitting out more water light. With a shake of its tail, the water light soared into the sky and swept it away as it flew back. Unfortunately, it had to face the late-stage tribulation passing Yang Xia. Although Yang Xia only had the strength of a mid-stage tribulation-passing realm cultivator, the merman, as a spirit pet, still couldn't block the power of a single punch. With a boom, the golden fist pierced through the water light and landed on the merman's back. The merman screamed in pain. Its back rapidly caved in and blood gushed out crazily. Damn it, Wanderer Fu Bo's heart ached, but he couldn't do anything else. At this moment, the fiend's supremacy had killed and devoured the devil head, which saved Wanderer Fu Bo from his predicament. Wanderer Fu Bo didn't even think as he raised his hand and threw the jade bottle into the sky. With a few hand seals, countless amounts of pre-celestial heavy water turned into monstrous waves that surged towards Yang Xia. Wanderer Fu Bo's pre-celestial heavy water had clearly been refined drop by drop. Wherever a drop of pre-celestial heavy water landed, countless water halos would flash out. The heaven-earth spiritual energy in a nearby void would also swarm in, causing the pre-celestial heavy water to rapidly expand and become heavier. Even the powerful realm storm seemed unable to disperse the pre-celestial heavy water that was as heavy as a mountain. Boom, boom, boom. The first few drops of pre-celestial heavy water had already landed on Yang Xia's golden body. With a loud boom, a huge scar appeared on Yang Xia's arm. The golden light of the scar rapidly dimmed as an indescribable pain emerged from the scar. It's just pre-celestial heavy water. Watch how I kill you. Seeing this, Yang Xia snorted coldly. He raised his hand and took out a halberd from his storage ring. He was about to stab it at Wanderer Fu Bo. Wanderer Fu Bo was also anxious. He had taken out the entire bottle of pre-celestial heavy water. His face was already somewhat pale. Clearly, he had already suffered some internal injuries from the realm storm. Seeing Yang Xia's halberd pierce through the void, Wanderer Fu Bo clenched his teeth and prepared to use his nascent soul to deal with it. Caw! At that moment, Feng Wu spread her wings and landed. Ignoring the fact that her wings had already enveloped the space where Wanderer Fu Bo and Yang Xia were, just the supreme demonic aura around her had already drowned Wanderer Fu Bo and Yang Xia. A demonic beast? Yang Xia and Wanderer Fu Bo were shocked. If this demonic beast is already so powerful, how powerful is its master? Just as the two had this thought, Feng Wu's cold voice sounded. The two of you should obediently separate. Otherwise, don't blame this sage for killing you. A great sage of the demonic beasts? Only then did Yang Xia and Wanderer Fu Bo understand. They exclaimed inwardly. Otherwise, how can there be such an aura? Could it be that he has already surpassed the laws of heaven and earth? Although Feng Wu warned them, her wings didn't hold back. Two pillars of starlight descended, one towards Yang Xia and the other towards the Khanate heavy water. Boom boom! With a series of explosions, the Khanate heavy water, which even the realm storm couldn't stop, was sent flying back by the starlight pillars. Yang Xia was even sent tumbling by the pillars of starlight. Stand there. Feng Wu's figure landed. Seeing Wanderer Fu Bo take advantage of the situation to collect the Khanate heavy water and the merman, she said indifferently, "Don't do anything. Wait a while before you speak. Otherwise, this old man will take your lives." Hearing this demonic beast, whose strength surpassed theirs, speak the human language of the Yilin continent, Wanderer Fu Bo and Yang Xia, who were standing at the edge of the starlight pillars, were even more shocked. Yang Xia glanced at Wanderer Fu Bo. The two could see the demonic shadows in each other's eyes. At that moment, Demon Sovereign Sure was controlling the demonic clouds to devour the demons. The entire heavenly wind forbidden zone was filled with demonic traces. Damn it! Yang Xia roared. Golden light shone from her halberd as she shouted. When did the demonic beasts ally with the demons? Today it's either you die or I die. As he spoke, Yang Xia's figure moved again. The inexplicable runes around his body began to flow, turning into a fist-sized golden liquid that coiled around his body like a python. A moment later, his body expanded again, and a majestic armor was revealed. A murderous aura was emitted from the armor. Coupled with Yang Xia's resolute gaze, he looked like a golden-armored deity. Seeing Yang Xia risk her life, Wanderer Fu Bo didn't dare to be careless. He also knew that no matter how the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance fought, it was an internal conflict of the human race. Before the demonic beasts and demons invaded, any conflict between the human race was nothing. Without much hesitation, she slapped the top of her head. Boom! A cluster of water rushed out. A nascent soul flew out. That nascent soul raised its hand. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Countless water splashes appeared near Feng Wu's wings. As the water splashed across the space, it made a sizzling sound as though the void was being corroded by the water splashes. Damn it! Feng Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She cursed angrily. I'm here to mediate. With that, Feng Wu grabbed at the void with her two phoenix claws. Woo-woo! Two illusions of phoenix claws broke through the air. Under the illusions, not only were Wanderer Fu Bo and Yang Xia's bodies imprisoned, a terrifying aura that could completely destroy the space within 100 miles was also released from the illusions. Wanderer Fu Bo and Yang Xia's hearts instantly fell into an ice cellar. What kind of power is this? The two couldn't help but feel a chill. How can there be such demonic beasts in the Yilin continent? Following that boom boom, with two loud sounds, under Yang Xia and Wanderer Fu Bo's resistance, a hole that was hundreds of feet wide appeared in Wanderer Fu Bo's water splashes. After the illusions of the phoenix claws were mostly destroyed, they landed in front of Wanderer Fu Bo's nascent soul. Looking at Yang Xia again, that awe-inspiring heavenly halberd was sent flying, and the illusions of the phoenix claws also flew through the air and landed on his head. Seeing that life and death were imminent, the terrifying illusions of the sharp claws actually stopped once again. Feng Wu's indifferent voice pierced their ears. "I am Zhang, Xiaohua's good friend." At this moment, there was no other word in the world that could convince Yang Xia and Wanderer Fu Bo more than the three words Zhang Xiaohua. Even though Feng Wu had already said that he was here to mediate, in the face of such a demonic beast, the two still wouldn't believe him. They would definitely resist stubbornly and fight to the death. But when the three words Zhang Xiaohua landed in their ears, it was like the dark clouds parting to reveal the bright moon. They suddenly understood and immediately withdrew their last resort. While on guard, they once again looked in other directions. Of course, this time, their eyes weren't just on the demonic beasts. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward. And thank you for all forms of support. Thanks to Taoist Master Xiao and the other fellow Taoists for their support. Chapter 4985. Just as Feng Wu was receiving orders to block Wanderer Fu Bo and Yang Xia, Huang Tong also let out a low cry and pounced towards Patriarch Yi and Elder Peacock. The battle between the Yi clan's Patriarch, Yi Zhen, and Old Man Peacock, Kong Chong, was different from the others. They were both immortal cultivator clan's family heads who had stood tall in the Yilin continent for many years. They had a much clearer understanding of the battle between the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance. Previously, when Kong Chong had tried to lure the enemy, Yi Zhen had joined forces with Reverend Ji Yin to block Kong Chong, allowing Reverend Ji Yin to seize the initiative. After all, Kong Chong was baiting the enemy, while Yi Zhen was merely blocking him. When the demonic artifact began to mutate, the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance began to fight again. Yi Zhen did not hesitate to charge at Kong Chong again. He knew very well that only the head of an immortal cultivator clan would have the same thoughts as him. He would place the clan's interests first and would not truly fight to the death with him. Things had developed just as Yi Zhen had expected. When the demonic treasures and demon generals appeared, Kong Chong had merely unleashed his five-colored light to protect himself. He hadn't joined forces with the demonic treasures and demon generals to launch a pincer attack on Yi Zhen. Of the 6 members of the Tao Alliance, Yi Zhen was probably the only one who had it the easiest. Without Kong Chong's pincer attack, it wouldn't be difficult for Yi Zhen to kill the Devil Tool. However, he knew that he couldn't kill the Devil Tool until the battle between Long Shenxi and Old Man Guqiang was over. Otherwise, Kong Chong would definitely attack him after he killed the Devil Tool. At that time, whether it was a real battle or a fake one, both sides would be at a disadvantage. Therefore, when the Demon Lord's demon god avatar swallowed the demon weapon and demon head, Yi Zhen was only surprised, but he wasn't particularly frightened. This was because Kong Chong had already flown to his side. The two of them formed a triangle, ready to fight against the Devil Race experts. Unfortunately, Demon Lord sure didn't care about them at all. After devouring the devil, he immediately fled far away. Soon after, a huge rumbling sound came from behind them. Celestials unleashed their divine might and activated the Kunlun mirror to suppress the realm storm. What kind of experts are they? Where do they come from? Yi Zhen was completely flabbergasted. Looking at the black and white pillar of light, he hurriedly transmitted his voice to Kong Chong, a demon with the strength of a demon sovereign. Even this old man would have to expend a great deal of effort to kill that demon just now. Once this demon sovereign's demonic pillar arrives, that demon won't be able to resist at all. Look at this pillar of light that is suppressing the realm storm. It's clearly the aura of an ancient artifact. Before Kong Chong could reply, a powerful aura that made the two family heads tremble in fear surged over. Then, Huang Tong's demonic body, which was almost tens of thousands of feet long, completely covered the space around her. She whizzed over. Great, Great demon sage. Kong Chang and Yi Zhen knew much more than Wanderer Fu Bo and the others. When they saw Huang Tong's aura, which surpassed the laws of the Yilin continent, they understood that if this demon phoenix was not a great demon sage, who else could be? Without any hesitation, Kong Chang raised his hand and clapped. Shua! Multicolored light gushed out like a fountain and flowed around his body. Ga! With a clear cry, a multicolored peacock spread its wings and appeared on the surface of Kong Chang's body. Although this peacock was an illusion, the aura it emitted was solid. Not only did it open up the surrounding space, it also blocked Huang Tong's aura. An indescribable arrogance was released from the peacock's illusion as it looked straight at Huang Tong. What was special was that when the multicolored peacock's wings flapped slightly, the 5 elements qi in the surrounding space became invisible as it flapped. Yi Zhen had already taken out the Jade Rui, but when Huang Tong appeared, Yi Zhen's pupils constricted. His pupils constricted. He saw that Huang Tong's target was him and Kong Chang. Furthermore, the space around him had been sealed. There was no way he could escape. Yi Zhen gritted his teeth. He raised his head and opened his mouth, spitting out a mouthful of essence blood onto the Jade Rui. This essence blood was different from ordinary essence blood. It did not seep into the Jade Rui, but flowed on it. Then, Yi Zhen's hands formed a mysterious seal. Strands of silver light appeared from his hands. Quick! As Yi Zhen inserted the seal into the essence blood emitted a blinding silver light. Then, the essence blood gradually formed a human figure and slowly fell into the Jade Rui. Huang Tong saw that Yi Zhen and Kong Chang were on guard, and he also felt the phoenix bloodline in Kong Chang's body. He originally wanted to warn them, but when he saw Kong Chang's multicolored peacock dharma body brush away the 5 elements qi, he could not help but be curious. He wanted to see the power of the multicolored divine light. At that moment, he saw that Yi Zhen's seal was emitting a silver light. He was even more surprised. Immortal qi? Could it be that this Tao Alliance cultivator's Jade Rui is hiding an immortal artifact? Therefore, Huang Tong smiled slightly and waved his sharp claws. Roar! The space itself emitted a bestial roar. 2 mighty spatial forces appeared out of thin air, transforming into formless pillars that smashed towards the 2 of them. Kong Chang felt a chill run down his spine when he saw the power of space crashing down on him. He did not expect the great saint of the demonic clan to have such a strong control over space. His peacock celestial body could destroy all things in the world, but it was much weaker against the power of space. Helpless, Kong Chang braced himself and activated his dharma body. Woo-woo! 2 rays of multicolored divine light shot into the sky like a curtain of light towards the spatial pillars. Looking at Yi Zhen again, although his Jade Rui didn't show any abnormalities, he looked calm and unhurried. It was as if his next move would definitely succeed. Indeed, when the essence blood of the human figure landed on the Jade Rui, the surface of the Jade Rui began to collapse rapidly. A ball of silver light rushed out from the Jade Rui. Following this silver light, a powerful aura that made Huang Tong tremble was emitted from the Jade Rui. Huang Tong's eyes were sharp. He had already seen a human figure slowly floating out from within the silver light. This human figure was wearing a high hat and a wide belt. He looked like a Confucian cultivator. The terrifying aura was emitted from this human figure. Immortal body. Xiao Hua had seen the remains of a celestial lord in the Xingyue Palace. Huang Tong was also very familiar with this terrifying aura. When he saw the human figure, he immediately understood. Damn it, this guy's Jade Rui actually seals the body of an immortal? When the human figure floated out of the Jade Rui, the silver light could not completely cover the human figure's appearance. Huang Tong could actually see that the immortal body's eyes were tightly shut. Then he saw that the immortal body could only float. Under the silver light, there were strange runes on the immortal body. Huang Tong suddenly understood. He laughed and said, "Damn it, this is an immortal puppet. There is one in the space of the Xingyue Palace too." Damn it, I knew it. Who would dare to seal an immortal corpse and use it? However, this guy can use a secret technique to activate the immortal puppet. This is considered an extremely powerful technique. Once the immortal puppet appeared, a power similar to that of an immortal rushed towards Huang Tong like a flood. The two different auras met in midair. Boom, boom, boom. Indescribable sounds exploded in the air. Then, countless ripples fell in all directions like dead fish. At this moment, there was another roar. Kong Chong's five-color divine light hit Huang Tong's spatial energy pillar. There was nothing special. The spatial energy pillar was mostly destroyed. However, Kong Chong's five-color divine light had completely collapsed. The various colored lights turned into fireflies under the spatial energy and scattered in all directions. Looking at Kong Chong again, his peacock body was trembling slightly. Clearly, the backlash from this attack was not light. Huang Tong had already heard Xiao Hua's instructions in his heart. He would not make things difficult for Kong Chong. He shouted, "Kong family head, don't force yourself. I am Zhang, Xiao Hua's good friend. Zhang Xiaohua." Just like Yang Xia and Wanderer Fu Bo's reaction. When Kong Chong heard the name Zhang Xiaohua, his heart that was in his throat immediately calmed down. Kong Chong was different from the others. Although he had not seen Xiao Hua with his own eyes, nor had he interacted with Xiao Hua, Kong Jing of the Kong family had told him everything about their meeting that day. Although Kong Chong did not know what favor the Kong family had done to Xiao Hua, Kong Chong knew that Xiao Hua must be fated with the Peacock Mountain Manor. Xiao Hua would not even hurt Kong Jing. How could he hurt him? The family had the Kong family. Therefore, after Kong Chong heard this, he immediately retracted his five-color divine light. The peacock body protected his body. He was only vigilant and did not attack again. When Huang Tong roared, she didn't try to hide it. The Yi family head naturally heard it. However, the immortal puppet had already raised her arm. Her originally closed eyes suddenly opened. A faint silver light flashed in the immortal puppet's eyes. The immortal puppet's fist instantly punched out. Seeing the fist disappear into the void, Yi Zhen knew that things were not good. He and the other supreme experts of the Tao Alliance had already guessed Zhang Xiaohua's background. They knew that she was a friend and not an enemy. He knew better than anyone how powerful the immortal puppet's attack was. Therefore, he quickly shouted, "Fellow cultivator, be careful, ha!" Huang Tong laughed arrogantly. "If you want to use this to defeat you're thinking too much." As he spoke, Huang Tong's sharp claws waved without hesitation. They flew into the void like lightning. Boom! The space between Huang Tong and the immortal puppet let out a roar. A huge whirlpool appeared in the void. Around the whirlpool, a lot of space quickly collapsed. Violent spatial energy wandered around in a disorderly manner. Jie! Huang Tong let out a clear cry. Her huge demon body flew back a few miles in the air. Then, she stood there proudly. Her sharp phoenix eyes showed a trace of confusion. This was because the moment her claws touched the immortal puppet, Huang Tong saw that on the immortal puppet's neck, a faint thumb-sized mark appeared in the silver light. That mark was not anything else but a word. Others might not be able to recognize this word, but Huang Tong knew that it was one of the words in the cultivation method that Su Ji had left for Xiao Hua. Jiang. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it. Vote for it. Vote for it. Donate it. And thank you for the support represented by Junren Xiao and other cultivators. Today's update. Chapter 4986. Jiang? Is this the Jiang family's intention? Huang Tong's eyes turned slightly as he muttered to himself. He looked at the immortal words and thought, since this immortal puppet belongs to the Jiang family, it means that there is a Jiang family in the immortal realm. The immortal messenger from the 10,000 demon realm was surnamed Shun, and the human that the colorful Phoenix King and the Fire Phoenix King found was surnamed One. Could it be that there is a family like the Wen family in the Yilin continent in the immortal realm? Not to mention that Huang Tong had discovered the immortal puppet's secret. Looking at the immortal puppet that was glowing with silver light, it was rolling in the air like a pellet. The silver light around, it was like a candle in the wind, flickering and dimming. How is this possible? Yi Zhen felt a rush of blood. He quickly used a secret technique to adjust his breathing. Looking at the immortal puppet that could not withstand Huang Tong's attack, he could not help but exclaim. He knew that the Yi family had stolen the heavens and sealed the immortal puppet in the Jade Rui. The immortal puppet's strength had already surpassed the late stage of the tribulation passing stage. Just now, he had used all his strength to kill Huang Tong and did not hold back. Although this heaven-wind, forbidden area limited his strength, the immortal puppet was not. Therefore, there was only one possibility. Huang Tong was not only a great saint of the demon clan, but he also had strength that surpassed the late stage of the tribulation passing stage. If it was a celestial being, he would have laughed and shouted wildly, "Haha, immortal puppet is only a so-so." But Huang Tong was different. He retreated a lot and then stood steadily. Although he was arrogant, he said, "This immortal puppet is indeed powerful. It is far beyond my expectations. Who are you? Why do you have such a powerful weapon? If not for your lack of strength, I am afraid I would not be able to resist this immortal puppet." Yi Zhen heard that Huang Tong did not mean to belittle the Yi family and was very happy. He did not dare to be negligent and quickly bowed. "Junior Yi Zhen, the head of the Yi family, greets Senior. May I know Senior's background? Can you teach me?" "Haha, there is no need to say who I am now. Later, fellow Taoist Xiao will tell me. You can keep the immortal puppet." Huang Tong smiled. His body flew across the sky and landed in front of the two. He said, "I'm sorry that I forced you to use this item." Yi Zhen waved his hand and threw out the Jade Rui. Under the light of the Jade Rui, the immortal puppet slowly shrank and was sealed back into the Jade Rui. Only then did Yi Zhen look at Kong Chong in the distance. He carefully smiled and said, "This is not Senior's fault. We were too rash and fell into the demon race's trap. If not for Senior's help, we would have suffered a great loss." When Yi Zhen spoke up at this point, he asked in a low voice, "May I know who this Senior Xiao is? Could it be that this junior knows him? But why haven't I heard of it before?" Huang Tong raised her hand and pointed into the distance. She smiled and said, "Look over there. That golden giant is perfected Xiao." Yi Zhen looked up, but before he could see Xiao Hua's transcendence golden body, he saw Yu Hongzi's figure move and fly over with a panicked expression. However, Yu Hongzi saw the ferocity of Huang Tong's transcendence golden body and did not dare to approach. He wanted to turn around. Yi Zhen could not help but call out, "Yu Hongzi, come over." Yu Hongzi was now in a state of panic. How could he dare to approach? He waved his hand and said, "Yi family patriarch, I won't go over. I wonder, who is this senior?" Yi Zhen naturally knew why Yu Hongzi was so cautious. He smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist, don't be afraid. The one in front of us is the demon race's great saint. Even if you escape from the Tianfeng Forbidden Land, if he wants to kill you, you won't be able to escape." Demon race's great saint? Yu Hongzi's face was even paler. He stood in the air and hesitated. Yu Hongzi was very lucky. He was responsible for killing Perfected Gold Saint. However, Perfected Gold Saint revealed his demonic body and activated the demonic weapon hidden in the dragon-shaped spiritual treasure. He was no longer a match for him. Seeing the demon flying out, Yu Hongzi wanted to fly over to help Fairy Mo Yun. However, before he could get close, the demonic weapon and demon blocked him. Of course, even if Yu Hongzi was a loose cultivator, the demonic weapon and demon could not kill him. Yu Hongzi used many methods and was prepared to kill the demon and join forces with Fairy Mo Yun. However, the demon's body was a demonic weapon. Although it could not block Yu Hongzi's attack, Yu Hongzi could not kill the demon. Just as they were in a stalemate, the demon supremacy appeared. The demonic pillar swept past and swallowed the demon that was giving Yu Hongzi a headache. The demon supremacy's aura scared Yu Hongzi. He could not believe that a demon supremacy from the demon realm would appear at this time and place. Moreover, the demon supremacy's strength was far beyond his imagination. Fortunately, the demon supremacy ignored him and turned into a black cloud that rolled away. Only then did Holmesy wake up. He wanted to escape from the heavenly wind forbidden land. However, after killing perfected Gold Saint, he landed in the center of the forbidden land. At this time, he was at the edge of the Kunlun Mirror's light pillar. He could not teleport. In particular, Xiao Hua's doppelgangers appeared around him. There was no way for him to escape. However, when he saw the Yi family patriarch, who was the closest to him, respectfully saluting him in the air, and the immortal puppet's aura, Holmesy carefully flew over. He wanted to find someone to join forces with. Yi Zhan wanted to say something, but he heard the rumbling of thunder in the distant horizon. Yi Zhan hurriedly released his divine sense. At this time, the heavenly wind forbidden land spatial storm was controlled by the Kunlun Mirror. The divine sense of a late-stage tribulation passing cultivator was no longer restricted. When Yi Zhan saw the situation in the distance, he could not help but be stunned again. Of course, the Thunderbolt Immortal was there. After receiving Xiao Hua's order, the Thunderbolt Immortal could not hold back anymore. He rushed toward the place where Bright Moon Householder and Ji Yanjinren were fighting. However, they were fighting in a corner of the heavenly wind forbidden land. Apart from Long Shenxi and Old Man Gu Qiong, it was the furthest place from the Kunlun Mirror. Daoist Jian's temper had always been somewhat irritable, and when he saw that Bright Moon Householder had hidden himself in Daoist Jin Shang's cloak to plot against him and see through his scheme, he became furious. Moreover, Bright Moon Householder's spiritual treasure, Moon String, had become much more powerful after Bright Moon Householder had come out of his secluded meditation. Daoist Ji Yan's bell-shaped spiritual tool couldn't resist it, and was at a disadvantage after a single blow. This made him even more furious. However, Perfected West Moon's words still touched him. He restrained his anger and wanted to reach a compromise with the Heavenly Alliance. However, Perfected Gold Saint suddenly attacked at such a critical moment. The hot-tempered Perfected Ji Yanjinren realized that he had been deceived again, and he couldn't help but fly into a rage. He pointed at Bright Moon Householder and cursed him loudly, while he slapped his own head. Bang! A golden light beam shot out. Ji Yanjinren rarely used his spiritual treasure, the Universal Seal, emitted a powerful aura, and flew out. Ji Yanjinren didn't give Bright Moon Householder any chance to defend himself. He raised his hand and pointed at the Universal Seal. The spiritual treasure tumbled in the air and became several acres big. Then it smashed down like a mountain. Layers upon layers of golden shadows took the shape of the sun, the moon, and the firmament. They covered the sky above Bright Moon Householder, and they smashed down even more fiercely than the falling rain. Bright Moon Householder sighed inwardly when he saw that the Universal Seal had suppressed the devastating spatial storm. He knew that Ji Yanjinren hadn't sustained any injuries in the spatial storm. Now that Ji Yanjinren had used his full power, Bright Moon Householder clearly understood that Ji Yanjinren was afraid that Bright Moon Householder would join hands with the demonic tool and demon generals, and would injure him in a short time. If Bright Moon Householder didn't use his full power, he would probably be injured by Ji Yanjinren first. However, if he used his full power, even if the demonic tool and demon generals didn't attack him from both sides, how could he explain the misunderstanding to Ji Yanjinren? Bright Moon Householder hesitated for a moment, but the boundless aura of the Universal Seal fell down with a loud rumble. Bright Moon Householder had a bitter taste in his mouth, but he could only raise his hand and wave it. The sickle-like spiritual treasure crescent moon streaked across the sky and turned into moonlight as it hacked at the Universal Seal. Swish! Swish! A blade-like crescent moon appeared, and a 10,000 feet long blade light soared into the sky. That blade light, which could split open the earth, instantly hacked the golden shadows in a 10,000 feet radius into two halves. However, The blade light was only able to cut through the 10,000 feet radius of its force, and it didn't eliminate the giant shadow that threatened Bright Moon Householder. Break! Bright Moon Householder was somewhat unwilling, but he still opened his mouth and spouted a mouthful of blood essence. Then, several cryptic magic seals were quickly imbued into his body. He clearly sensed that his lifespan was rapidly dwindling. Bright Moon Householder raised his eyes and looked at Ji Yin-Jinren's sinister face. He felt extremely helpless. His lifespan was passing away in such a manner. So how could Ji Yin-Jinren fare any better? But now, Ji Yin-Jinren and even the supreme cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao Alliance had fallen into the demon's trap, and they were powerless to escape. In the end, both sides would suffer great losses. Damn it! Bright Moon Householder roared inwardly after he cast the magic arts. I'm afraid that I'm the only one who knows that this is the demon's scheme to shift the blame on us. Even Long Shensi will think that we are cooperating with the demon race, right? We are already the supreme cultivators of the Lin continent. So who has the strength to stop us from fighting? At this moment, Bright Moon Householder saw that the last demon tool was quietly approaching Yin Jinren outside the boundary storm. He really wanted to kill this demon tool and explain it to Ji Yin Jinren, but he was clearly aware that Ji Yin Jinren wouldn't let him go past him to rendezvous with the demon tool and demon tool. While Bright Moon Householder was pondering, his blood essence fell into the moon's spiritual treasure string. Swish, swish, swish. The moon's spiritual treasure string shone brightly, and Bright Moon Householder waved it again with great difficulty. Then, layers of blade lights soared into the sky like waves and collided with the universal seal shadow. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qijian to subscribe to it. I would like to thank Taoist Xiao and the other fellow Taoists for their support. Chapter 4987. In the distance, the Kunlun mirror had already begun to control the space storm, but the effect had yet to reach here. However, at the place where the two spiritual treasures collided, boom, 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 a deafening roar sounded, and a violent force like a dragon pounced on the forbidden land. In an instant, the space storm that could wipe out mountains actually calmed down. A clear world appeared between Taoist Master Jian and Bright Moon Householder for a brief moment. Humph! Taoist Master Ji Yin squinted his eyes and sneered. Moonstring is nothing more than this. Bright Moon Householder, I might have been afraid of you if you had refined the demonic blood into it. But now, hand over your life. Taoist Master Ji Yin also spouted a mouthful of blood essence, and the universal seal shone with blood-red golden light. Buzzing, thunderous sounds echoed, and the seal turned into 9 layers. Taoist Master Ji Yin even raised his hand, and a 100-meter-tall, nascent, soul magical body flew out. He made a hand seal, and it fell on the 9 layers of the universal seal, and urged it to suppress Bright Moon Householder once again. The spiritual treasure hadn't reached him yet, but pitch-black spatial rings had already appeared above Bright Moon Householder's head at an extremely fast speed. Bright Moon Householder's complexion changed greatly. He knew that Taoist Master Ji Yin was ruthless, but he had still underestimated his decisiveness. Taoist Master Ji Yin had only exchanged 2 moves with him, yet he had already decided to kill him. Forget it. Bright Moon Householder felt somewhat disheartened. Who told me to choose the wrong Taoist, Master Jin Sheng? Since things have come to this, I can only fight with my life on the line. Bright Moon Householder's body swelled once again, and his primordial soul magical body appeared. However, Bright Moon Householder's primordial soul magical body was different from that of other cultivators, and it looked like a bright moon under the silvery light. Bright Moon Householder opened his mouth after his magical body took shape, and the spiritual treasure moon string was unexpectedly swallowed by him. Bang! Another rumbling sound echoed, and Bright Moon Householder's primordial soul magical body unexpectedly took the shape of a moon string, just like Xiao Hua's magical body had taken the shape of a sword. Bang! At this moment, the demonic pillar of the demon Venerable fell from the sky and swallowed the demonic weapon and demon head before it could even approach. Demon Venerable Shi's unruly laughter echoed in the two's ears. Taoist Jian and Bright Moon Householder were obviously aware that another change had occurred in the heavenly wind forbidden land. But it was a pity that they had already taken action. The arrow was already knocked on the bow, and the string was already pulled. They had no choice but to shoot. At this critical moment, an extremely arrogant voice rang out like thunder. Haha, this is so interesting. The Yilin continent is protected by the Tao Master and the Tao Ancestor. It is just a small trick of the Devil Clan, and it is enough to make two supreme cultivators of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance fight to the death. If the Tao Ancestor and the Tao Master knew about this, they would be so angry that their noses would be crooked. Both Taoist Jian and Bright Moon Householder were startled. While the two of them were still in shock, they saw a bolt of lightning streaking across the sky, crossing the boundary storm and landing between the heaven and earth seal and the moon string. As the lightning receded, the figure of the thunder immortal loftily appeared amidst the power of the spiritual treasure, which was like a raging wave. It can't be? The two supreme cultivators were gobsmacked, and the same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. He can't be thinking about taking on the full power attacks of two supreme cultivators who have activated their natal spiritual treasures at the same time. Can he? Could it be that he has an extremely powerful ancient divine tool? However, they were still overthinking it. The Thunder Immortal waved his hands, and his 10 fingers clawed at the same time. Then, an indescribable power of law came out from his left side. Rumble! Lightning flashed and thunder rolled, and 2 lightning balls, each of which was several acres in size, appeared. He unexpectedly wants to use his bare hands to block 2 spiritual treasures at the same time. Does he think that he is a Tao Master? Bright Moon Householder couldn't think straight. He didn't dare to believe that there was someone on the Yilin continent who could block his full power attack, which was activated by the moon string, with his bare hands. He also didn't believe that this person wanted to block his attack, which was of the same power from the Deputy Alliance Master of the Tao Alliance. However, these were just the thoughts of Bright Moon Householder and Jian. In a flash, the Heaven and Earth Seal, which was activated by Jian's nascent soul, and the moon string, which was formed by Bright Moon Householder's primordial soul, collided with the Thunder Immortal's lightning balls. Although it seemed like they were colliding at the same time, there was still a slight difference. Jian made his move first, and the 9 illusory images of the Heaven and Earth Seal broke through the void and collided with the several acres in size of the lightning balls. Bang! The first illusory image of the Heaven and Earth Seal sank into the surface of the lightning balls. Then, the innumerable lightning bolts on the lightning balls pierced the illusory image like swords. The illusory image of the Heaven and Earth Seal was shattered, and the lightning sword lights were annihilated. An aura, which wasn't inferior to the Heaven and Earth Seal itself, went against the current and rushed into Ji Yan's nascent soul. This cultivator is actually so powerful. Taoist Ji Yan was shocked beyond words and could only think of this numbly. Who is he? Suddenly, a thought flashed through Ji Yan's mind. Could he be Zhang Xiaohua? No, his appearance is completely different from Zhang Xiaohua's. Damn it, how could a human cultivator, whose cultivation level is even higher than I's, not know the illusion technique? Thinking of this, Ji Yan immediately used the strong aura of the lightning balls to suppress the power of the Heaven and Earth Seal. At this moment, everything that happened in front of his eyes made his eyeballs almost fall out. The Thunder Immortal roared angrily in the air. Break for me. Then, the Thunder Immortal's left hand, which was facing Ji Yan, suddenly turned toward the lightning balls. Woo! The surface of the lightning balls, which had been annihilated along with the first illusory image of the Heaven and Earth Seal, suddenly spun rapidly. The spinning force was so great that it even caused ripples to appear on the second illusory image of the heaven and earth seal. Not only that, but the Thunder Immortal's left hand also spun rapidly from his fingers to his arm to the left side of his body. Finally, the Thunder Immortal's left arm strangely moved forward, and a huge fist hit the spinning lightning balls. Bang! The spinning lightning bolts rushed out of the lightning balls fiercely and pierced into the illusory image of the heaven and earth seal more sharply than any spiritual treasure in the world. Puff, puff, puff. With 7 muffled sounds, the Thunder Immortal's fist broke through 7 illusory images of the heaven and earth seal and reached the 9th illusory image. At this moment, the Thunder Immortal's strength seemed to have reached its limit. The 9th illusory image of the heaven and earth seal, which was the thickest illusory image of the heaven and earth seal, flickered with a magnificent light, and countless mountains were reflected in this magnificent light. Phew! The dumbfounded Ji Yin finally came back to his senses. He let out a long sigh and thought to himself, "That scared me to death. Although this cultivator is powerful, he is still a human. How could he possibly fight against my spiritual treasure?" With this thought in mind, Ji Yin raised his head and glanced at the moon's strings in the distance. Just as he was about to speak, rumble! While Ji Yin was lost in thought, the fist that had already reached the 9th illusory image of the heaven and earth seal suddenly changed. A torrent of lightning roared and completely submerged the illusory image of the heaven and earth seal. Ji Yan's nascent soul dharma body could already feel the despair of the endless torrent of lightning. As for Bright Moon Householder, his primordial spirit transformed into a moon and rushed into the void. Within a radius of 100 miles, boundless saber lights fluttered like snowflakes and pounced on the surface of the Thunder Immortal's ball of lightning. Puff, puff, puff. Just as the saber lights came into contact with the ball of lightning, countless bolts of lightning appeared on the surface of the ball of lightning and collided with the saber lights. How could this ball of lightning be so powerful? Bright Moon Householder was startled once again when he heard the explosion sounds all around him. This was the remnant might of his primordial spirit transformed into a sword. So how could the light of an ordinary spiritual treasure compare to it? However, the ball of lightning that the Thunder Immortal had casually condensed possessed such might. Bright Moon Householder really didn't know how much might this ball of lightning contained. Bang! While Bright Moon Householder was pondering, the sickle-like saber lights hacked at the ball of lightning. Although the lightning flickered and the thunderbolts roared, they still couldn't block the sword strike of a Tao integration cultivator. However, after a short moment of rumbling, a crisp sound similar to that of an eggshell cracking echoed, and the ball of lightning unexpectedly exploded. In front of Bright Moon Householder's eyes, that ball of lightning turned into a flower that was several acres in size. A flower condensed from lightning? Bright Moon Householder felt as if he had just witnessed the most ridiculous thing in the world. The lightning that could annihilate all living things had unexpectedly turned into the world's weakest and most delicate flower. How could this flower withstand the moonstring strike? As expected, a loud rumbling sound echoed, and the lifelike flower was instantly annihilated by the saber lights. However, several seconds after the flower was annihilated, a crackling sound echoed, and another dazzling flower that flickered with boundless vitality was born in front of the moonstring. Bang! Just as the flower of lightning was born, the saber lights fell upon it, and the flower was annihilated once again. Just like this, the flower bloomed and withered, and the lightning was born and extinguished 1,000 times in the blink of an eye. Every time the lightning was born and extinguished, it would carry with it a wisp of life and death energy. This wisp of life and death energy was weak, but it was enough to resist the moonstring's attack. Bright Moon Householder's moonstring was like an arrow at the end of its flight when the loud, rumbling sound of thunder echoed. "Ha, you are a bit stronger than the previous one, but you aren't that much stronger." The Thunderbolt Immortal, who still maintained the right half of his human form, laughed heartily. Soon after, he stretched out his right arm and shouted loudly, "Come out for me." While he was speaking, a rumbling sound echoed as the thunderbolt of mortal's hand condensed from the nine heavens. Divine thunder came out of his right hand. A wisp of life and death energy, which made Bright Moon Householder tremble in fear, came out of this hand of lightning. The hand of lightning streaked across the sky and caught Bright Moon Householder's moon string, which had transformed from his soul into a sword in its hand. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qi to subscribe to it. I would like to thank Taoist Xiao and the other fellow Taoists for their support. Chapter 4988. Crack, crack. The power of life and death fell on Bright Moon Householder's nascent divinity, producing a power of principle that Bright Moon Householder could not even look up to. His nascent divinity could no longer maintain its crescent moon shape and was forced to withdraw from the crescent moon at an extremely fast speed. Along with the withdrawal of his nascent divinity, a force as strong as the force of heaven and earth tightly bound his nascent divinity, rendering him unable to move at all. Senior Zhang, please show mercy. Reverend Jian was dumbstruck when he saw Thunderbolt Reverend use the art of thunder to forcibly pull Bright Moon Householder out of the crescent moon. Then, he suddenly realized what was going on. With a change of mind, he hastily flew across the sky and came before Thunderbolt Reverend, bowed, and said, "Please don't kill him. We still need to find out the secret of his collusion with the Devil Clan from him. You've saved your divine ability, and we still need to deal with that Devil Venerable, huh?" Thunderbolt Reverend let go of the hand and said with a loud laugh, "I'm Thunderbolt Reverend, not the Zhang Shaowa you mentioned. And that Devil Venerable is not the enemy you think he is. As for the truth, I'll tell you when Reverend Xiao comes here." "Reverend Xiao?" Reverend Jian was struck dumb and asked curiously, "Reverend Xiao? Who is that, senior?" "Of course it's him." Thunderbolt Reverend glanced at Bright Moon Householder, whose face was flushed, and Reverend Jian, who was puzzled. Then he raised his hand and pointed at Gao Tiandao, saying, "Wait and see for yourself." Damn it! Could it be that apart from Senior Zhang Xiaohua, there's another Reverend Xiao who is more powerful than him in this world? Reverend Yin and Bright Moon Householder could not help but raise their heads and look at the horizon. Xiao Hua released all his clones and gave them a few instructions in his mind. After that, he and Reverend Yun flew toward the depths of the heavenly wind forbidden zone in a hurry. He had sensed that the dragon aura, which had attracted him to this place, was on the verge of going berserk, and it was 100 times more dangerous than the cultivators who were fighting in other places. When Xiao Hua and Reverend Yun finally crossed the realm storm and arrived at the place where the dragon marks and fiend marks interweaved, they saw that within the area of nearly 1,000 miles to their left, apart from the realm storm that was wreaking havoc and the spatial ripples that were dancing in the air, there was also an enormous avatar of dragon blood emanating a frightening aura of dragon and fiend, enveloping the entire space. Xiao Hua frowned as he looked below the dragon blood celestial body. There were countless colorful rings, one ring after another, protecting a space that was only a few acres in size. Wherever Xiao Hua's gaze fell, the colorful rings actually gave birth to endless visions, almost dragging Xiao Hua's mind into them. "Oh my, this is also an extraordinary treasure." Hastily, Xiao Hua recollected his mind and looked at Reverend Yin. Reverend Yin was following behind Xiao Hua, not saying a word. He was looking at Long Shenxi's dragon blood avatar, which was dancing crazily, with a deep look in his eyes, as if he was pondering about something. "Cough, cough, fellow Taoist." Xiao Hua coughed twice and reminded, "Even if there's anything unusual, he's still a human. I'm afraid it has nothing to do with your suspicions." Fellow Taoist, look at that. That's a 9-colored dragon horn. Do you think it's so easy to get Ai's dragon horn?" Reverend Yun retracted his gaze, swaying his 9-colored dragon horn as he looked at Xiao Hua, and said with a proud smile, "Fellow Taoist, Don't forget that even the dragon kings of the 4 oceans in the 3 continents and the dark armored pentacrons in the 1,000 demons sacred realm are not 9-colored. Only those who have the bloodline of the sacred dragon clan in the dragon realm can bear this 9-colored dragon horn. If not for your meridians and the dragon cleansing liquid, how could I get this dragon horn? This puny human. Even if he is the master of Heaven Alliance, Long Shensi, how could he have a 9-colored dragon horn? I don't think so. Xiao Hua gave Long Shensi's 9-colored dragon horn a strange look. He thought for a moment and said, I remember. I've seen a 9-colored dragon horn before. Is this Long Shensi as strange as you said? Fellow Taoist, perhaps you've seen a 9-colored dragon horn before. Reverend Yun waved his hand disapprovingly and said, but how could that mottled 9-colored horn be compared with this pure 9-colored one? Fellow Taoist, don't you feel the power of heaven and earth contained in this 9-colored horn? If not for this pair of dragon horns, how could this so-called Long Shensi be the strongest expert in Heaven Alliance? Also, the fiend who damaged his own fiend body seemed to be just a fiend emperor. How could he have invaded this peak stage, Tao, fusing human cultivator with his fiend energy? Unless that fiend knew about Long Shensi's weakness and what this 9-colored dragon horn meant, and did something to specifically target the dragon bloodline in the 9-colored dragon horn, causing Long Shensi's dragon blood dharma body to turn into a fiend. Does that mean the 9-colored dragon horn means the bloodline of the upper realm? Is there some kind of conspiracy from the fiend realm? Xiao Hua asked. At the same time, the crazy Long Shensi had already activated his dragon blood dharma body, roaring into the sky and destroying countless dimensions. Then he turned his ferocious dragon head around and plunged down toward the 5-colored ground. Seeing the 5-colored ground bursting like bubbles and the dragon head plunging down in front of Meng Ping Tianxia, Xiao Hua immediately shut his mouth. With a sway of his body, he was about to dash out. Reverend Yin smiled and said, don't worry, fellow Taoist. Long Shensi's opponent should be old man Gu Qiong, the strongest expert of Tao Alliance mentioned by Kong Jing. If he can't even withstand this attack from Long Shensi, he doesn't deserve to be called the strongest expert of Tao Alliance. Is Long Shensi all right? Xiao Hua stopped and asked uncertainly. The 9-colored dragon horn not only means the bloodline of the dragon clan from the upper realm, but also the bloodline of the fiend realm's fiend dragon. Long Shensi has turned into a fiend, so his overall strength can only skyrocket. He can't be injured, Reverend Yun said with a smile. Besides, the fiend energy left in his bloodline by the fiend emperor can only activate the 9-colored dragon horn, but it won't hurt his body. Fellow Taoist, you mean? Xiao Hua was startled and asked curiously, this Long Shensi probably has the bloodline of the fiend dragon. His turning into a fiend is just an inevitability, and it won't affect his body? But even if it doesn't affect his body, won't it affect his Tao foundation and Tao heart? What is a fiend? What is fiend blood? What is fiend flame? What is Tao? What is Tao foundation? What is Tao heart? Reverend Yin asked 6 questions in a row, but he did not expect Xiao Hua to answer. He just stared indifferently at Long Shensi, who had turned into a fiend. Just as the dragon head was about to reach Meng Pingtian's body, Meng Pingtian suddenly burst into flames like an exploding candlelight. Long Shensi's dragon head swayed slightly, then produced the same number of dragon heads and plunged into the flames again. Puff! Suddenly, a 5-colored halo rushed out from Meng Pingtian's body. In a flash, it landed on Long Shensi's dragon head and gently exploded. Although the explosion looked light, Long Shensi's dragon head began to tremble violently. Then, it began to sway crazily, and an extremely painful expression could be seen on his ferocious dragon head. Soul stab. Xiao Hua was taken aback. He stared at Reverend Yun in disbelief and asked curiously, isn't that the soul stab of Soul Cultivator? It's a little more powerful than the ordinary soul stab. Reverend Yun said with a smile, it looks like the title of the strongest expert of Tao Alliance is well-deserved. While speaking, Reverend Yun turned to look into the distance and said with a smile, "That Mo Ling kid has succeeded and is on his way here. Let's do it." "Damn it." Just as Xiao Hua was about to raise his hand, he suddenly exclaimed in a low voice, "I suddenly understand. I don't know what the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance's goal is, but the true goal of the Devil Race. I'm afraid it's not to sow discord between the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance, but the number one expert of the Heaven Alliance, Long Shenxi, right?" Reverend Yin was taken aback, but he soon nodded and said, "You're right, fellow Taoist. That's possible, but we'll find out after we ask that Mo Ling kid." "All right." Xiao Hua looked at Meng Pingtian, who was trapped by Long Shenxi, and said, "Fellow Taoist, go and distract Long Shenxi while I summon that old man Gu Qiong." "Be careful, fellow Taoist," Reverend Yin reminded him. "It's fine if Long Shenxi turns into a fiend, but if old man Gu Qiong wakes up, he will be very vigilant." I know," Xiao Hua replied with a smile. "Roar." Seeing this, Reverend Yin threw his head back and let out a dragon roar. The next moment, a realm storm rolled up rapidly and rushed toward Long Shenxi's dragon blood celestial body. Under the influence of the heaven and earth of the myriad demon realm, Reverend Yun released his dragon body and pounced on Long Shenxi. Roar! The realm storm wrapped around Long Shenxi, causing him to roar furiously. When he saw Reverend Yin pouncing on him, Long Shenxi's dragon body trembled as if he was afraid. But then, the fiend runes on his body shone with a pitch-black brilliance. Long Shenxi roared again and pounced on Reverend Yin recklessly, as if he had seen an irreconcilable enemy. Apparently, Reverend Yin did not use his full strength. While dealing with Long Shenxi, he lured him away while Xiao Hua's body swayed and landed near Meng Pingtian. After Long Shenxi left, Meng Pingtian began to dance again. Rings of 5 colors bloomed like a blooming epiphyllum, swaying with the wind and filling up the area again. Just as Xiao Hua's figure landed on the ground, shwa shwa shwa, dozens of multicolored figures spun around, carrying countless desires and dreams as they fell towards Xiao Hua. Seeing that the interface storm wasn't able to compare to the flattering multicolored figures, Xiao Hua faintly smiled and waved his hand to take out the Dream Sea butterfly from the space. As soon as the Dream Mirage butterfly was taken out, a breeze started to blow. It was stronger than Meng Pingtian, and illusions were revealed in the gaps of the breeze. The breeze passed through the colorful illusions and covered the dreams. After a few breaths, Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Is old man Gu Qiong inside?" "I, Xiao Hua, am honored to meet you." Following Xiao Hua's voice, the dream tapestry butterfly flapped its wings, and the dream tapestry world shattered into pieces. However, the shattered pieces did not scatter, but instead converged into the interconnected rings around the dream tapestry world. P.S. For all the fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, donate it, and... Chapter 4989. When old man Gu Qiong saw Meng Ping Tianxia's real body, he appeared in a daze and walked stiffly into the air like a puppet. Then, he unconsciously replied, "This old man is old man Gu Qiong. Greetings, huh?" Xiao Hua looked at old man Gu Qiong's expression with a faint smile on his face. He raised his right arm slightly, and the mirage butterfly flew out. Then, with a wave of his right hand, the mirage butterfly returned to the space. However, right at this moment, old man Gu Qiong's eyes suddenly spun while bright light shot out from his eyes. A soul sword that was the size of a thumb shot out from a space between his brows and shot toward Xiao Hua like a bolt of lightning. Wherever the soul sword passed by, the colorful fragments that had just fallen into Meng Ping world flew out again. Following the soul sword, it turned into a beautiful arc and pounced towards Xiao Hua. Haha, fellow Taoist Meng is right. Xiao Hua suddenly raised his head, and the smile on his face turned into a sneer. In this world, there are many people who have fallen into the demonic path. Instead, there are those who think they are clear-headed, While speaking, a soul thread also appeared between Xiao Hua's eyebrows. Immediately after, the illusion breaker eye opened. A silver-white light pillar was formed, and it was precisely hitting the soul sword. Rumble. In the unknown space, a loud rumbling sound resounded. It was even more intense than the shattering of thunder. What was even more intense than the sound of the lightning shattering was Old Man Gu Qiong's mind. Old Man Gu Qiong had practiced the soul sword and naturally knew how dangerous it was. Originally, he was prepared to die together with Meng Ping Tianxia. However, when the silver light fell, it was as if countless small swords were stabbing into his mind. Old Man Gu Qiong's vision turned black, and he lost control of his body. However, just as the soul sword and the colorful fragments behind it were about to be destroyed, the silver beam of light suddenly spun and wrapped around the soul sword and the colorful fragments. The soul sword broke free from Old Man Gu Qiong's control and changed its direction. The colorful fragments condensed into a soul sword that was 10 times stronger than before and stabbed towards Old Man Gu Qiong's forehead. Ah! Death had never been so close, and ancient Qiong couldn't help but cry out. He had never thought that the secret technique he had used at the cost of his lifespan would be useless in front of this nameless cultivator who called himself Xiao Hua. Moreover, Xiao Hua's secret technique was like the difference between heaven and earth. Even though Xiao Hua's secret technique hadn't touched his forehead, it had already pulled at his soul. Ancient Qiong sensed that his lifespan was about to collapse. A thought flashed through Old Man Gu Qiong's mind. Xiao Hua, Zhang Xiaohua. Could he be Zhang Xiaohua? PFFF. The moment the soul sword touched Old Man Gu Qiong's forehead, it immediately retracted. However, a bean-sized drop of blood appeared on the old man's forehead. Old Man Gu Qiong's soul sword remained between his eyebrows. Under the power of the silver light beam, the shattered fragments of the soul sword also condensed into the soul sword. After the delirium breaker eye closed, Xiao Hua said indifferently, "Fellow Taoist Gu Qiong, haven't you been looking for me? Why do you want to kill me when you see me? Could it be that the spirit root selection method I left for the Tao Alliance and the Qi refinement and tribulation transcendence cultivation method were all fake? Could it be that you were only looking for me to kill me?" Xiao Hua had used this method to warn Old Man Gu Qiong. On the one hand, he was angry at Old Man Gu Qiong for attacking him. On the other hand, he wanted to teach the Tao Alliance a lesson. Zhang Xiaohua. Old Man Gu Qiong felt extremely ashamed. He had never thought that after searching for Zhang Xiaohua for so long, he would actually attack Zhang Xiaohua when she was standing right in front of him. In his daze, he had actually called out the word Zhang. After a short while, Old Man Gu Qiong bowed deeply and said, "Junior Gu Qiong greets Senior Xiao? It's all this junior's fault. This junior had eyes but failed to see and almost injured Senior. Please punish me, Senior." "Forget it. Get up." Xiao Hua looked at Old Man Gu Qiong's wrinkled face and white hair. He couldn't bear it and raised his hand. "You should have been vigilant, but you didn't have to kill me right from the start, right?" Yes, I was wrong." Old Man Gu Qiong felt that his words were a little pedantic. Who would hold back in a life or death situation? However, he didn't dare to refute Xiao Hua's words and could only nod submissively. After replying to Xiao Hua, Gu Qiong suddenly came to a realization. In his eyes, it was a matter of life and death, but in Xiao Hua's eyes, it was just a test. Xiao Hua naturally wouldn't kill him. Kaka! At this moment, Old Man Gu Qiong was shocked by the demon sovereign's aura. "Don't worry," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "He's a good friend of mine. He's proficient in the demon race's cultivation technique. He killed the demon artifact and the demon sovereign today. Let's go. Follow me and save Long Shensi, who has turned into a demon." "Yes, I'll listen to Senior Zhao's orders." Old Man Gu Qiong didn't dare to breathe loudly when he saw the demon sovereign flying past him. He knew that Xiao Hua's divine ability was unfathomable, and a demon sovereign from the demon world wasn't someone a late-stage crossing tribulation human cultivator like him could handle. It was true that Meng Ping Tianxiao was able to injure the Blood Shadow Archdevil of the demon world, but that wasn't old man Gu Qiong's strength alone. Every archdevil had a different level of strength, and the archdevil in front of him was clearly much stronger than the Blood Shadow Archdevil he had injured. Put away the soul sword. When Xiao Hua saw that the soul sword was still hovering in the air, Gu Qiong old man didn't dare to act rashly. He reminded Xiao Hua, "Just now this old man casually added the illusion fragments of your spiritual treasure into the soul sword." Xiao Hua's words shocked old man Gu Qiong. Not only did Xiao Hua fail to destroy the soul sword, but he even added Meng Ping Tianxia's fragment into it. In the end, Xiao Hua didn't treat him as an opponent at all, and he actually wanted to kill Xiao Hua. Old man Gu Qiong couldn't help but kneel and say, "It's all my fault. Get up, get up." Xiao Hua didn't dare to make old man Gu Qiong kneel. He hurriedly helped old man Gu Qiong up and said, "I've already said that it's not your fault. How could you see clearly when you were in the situation?" "Yes, yes." Old man Gu Qiong nodded. A ring appeared between his eyebrows, and the soul sword entered his mind. Roar. At this moment, a dragon's roar came from the distant horizon. It sounded like a roar, but it also sounded like a scream. Old man Gu Qiong looked up. However, as soon as old man Gu Qiong looked up, his body started to sway and his face turned ghastly pale. "Oh!" Xiao Hua was taken aback. He glanced at old man Gu Qiong and realized something. He quickly took out a rejuvenation pill and handed it to old man Gu Qiong, saying with concern, "You've lost too much of your lifespan just now, and your soul has been shaken when you used the secret soul cultivation technique. Take this pill and rest here for a while. You don't have to go there immediately." Old man Gu Qiong was completely convinced by Xiao Hua. He took the pill and put it into his mouth without even looking at it. Then, he sat down cross-legged and said sincerely, "I'll rest here and rest. I'll leave everything to you, senior." Xiao Hua responded. He looked at the nearby spatial zone storm that had already calmed down. He didn't need to use his mind to ask the Celestial anymore. He already knew that the Kunlun mirror had already controlled the spatial zone crack of the heavenly wind Forbidden Land. Xiao Hua's figure flashed, and he was already high up in the sky. At this moment, Reverend Yun was controlling his dragon body and fighting Long Shensi playfully. Sure, the Exalted was already standing in midair, looking at Long Shensi with a pair of blood-red eyes, as if he was thinking about something. Seeing Xiao Hua, Sure the Exalted smiled and said, "Big brother, you're here?" Xiao Hua replied. He looked at Reverend Yun and asked curiously, "Why haven't you started yet?" Reverend Yun smiled and said, "My son Mo Ling has something he doesn't understand. He doesn't want Long Shensi to break free from the devil earlier, so I played with him for a while." "Oh, what is it?" Xiao Hua asked Sure the Exalted. Sure the Exalted answered respectfully, "Big brother, I've devoured that devil. I'm afraid the cause of this matter is beyond your expectation. Previously, I thought it was already good enough to have a devil king in the Yulin continent, where the human race lives in great numbers. Who knew that the devil, just now, was actually Devil Emperor Jingyu from the eastern Ting Devil region? However, the other devil clans didn't know that this devil emperor had sneaked into the Yulin continent, and there was a devil diagram in his memory that I didn't know about. When I was devouring him, the devil diagram accidentally erased more than half of his memory. What's a devil diagram? Xiao Hua asked with a frown. I forgot to explain. Devil diagram is the devil seal that the human race often calls devil consciousness. It's called devil vision in the devil realm. Sure the Exalted hurriedly explained. "Oh, I understand now, big brother." Xiao Huan nodded. "In other words, you don't know why Devil Emperor Jingyu sneaked into the Yulin continent and set up such a trap in this forbidden land of heavenly wind." Sure the Exalted smiled and said, "I know most of the things that I'm not interested in, but I don't know the most important thing. So, I want to see what's so strange about Long Shensi that Devil Emperor Jingyu is interested in." After that, Sure the Exalted told Xiao Hua everything he knew. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Yin, vote for it, donate it, and Chapter 4990. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said helplessly, "Big brother, I understand now. It turns out that the Heaven Alliance found a spiritual item here that can make up for one's lifespan. Therefore, they used the mouth of Taoist Master Shiyu, who came back from the Tao Alliance, to pass this information to the Tao Alliance, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The first was to test whether Taoist Master Shiyu was truly returning. The second was to capture all the supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance in one fell swoop. The third was to find the spiritual item that could replenish one's lifespan. Sigh. But to think that the Dragon God would choose Reverend Jin Sheng for such a perfect plan. This Taoist Master Jin Sheng had been possessed by the Jingyu Demon Emperor. After killing 3 birds with 1 stone, he had become the Oriole. If we hadn't come here today, the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance would have been wiped out by the Devil Clan." Speaking of this, Xiaohua was bewildered again and said curiously, "Long Shenxi chose to trust immortal Jin Sheng because he is one of the famous refining masters in the Heavenly Alliance. Secondly, he has the highest cultivation level among the refining masters, which is at the late stage of the Tao integration stage. Logically speaking, the possibility of him being possessed by the Devil Clan is extremely small. Thirdly, immortal Jin Sheng also knows the refining technique of soul cultivators. Soul cultivators can be regarded as one of the nemeses of the Devil Clan. Haha, big brother, don't forget, as the saying goes, the devil is 10 times taller." Demon Lord Sure laughed heartily. Ordinary demon emperors are only at the 8th level of essence energy. Compared to the 9th level of essence energy, the difference is huge. If Jingyu Demon Emperor were to fight with Reverend Jin Sheng, Jingyu Demon Emperor would definitely not be a match for Reverend Jin Sheng. But possession isn't a fight. We demons have plenty of ways to possess humans. Big brother, don't forget that humans have unimaginable desires. Yeah, Xiaohua already understood. He nodded and said, "Although Taoist Master Jin Sheng is a supreme cultivator in the late stage of the Tao integration stage, he still has a desire in his heart that surpasses the 9th stage of origin power. Jingyu Demon Emperor isn't fighting alone. He's conspiring with another Taoist Master Jin Sheng to possess his body. This is also the reason why the Tao sect values the Tao heart, Tao foundation, and even the Tao realm." Demon Venerable Sure smiled. Xiaohua smiled and asked, "Then tell me, what is the Tao heart, what is the Tao foundation, and what is the Tao realm?" "How would little brother know?" Demon Lord Sure looked at Long Shenxi in the distance and laughed bitterly. "Big brother, you have to ask Long Shenxi, right?" At this point, Demon Lord Sure smiled and asked, "Then big brother, what do you mean by Tao heart, Tao realm, and Tao foundation?" "Haha, to be honest, I don't know either." Xiaohua laughed loudly, not hiding his thoughts at all as he spoke. Demon Venerable Sure rubbed his blood-red nose. His expression was quite similar to Xiaohua's. He asked curiously, "Big brother is a human race great saint who is about to ascend. You don't even know the simplest and most basic things?" "Of course, what's so strange about that?" Xiaohua replied matter-of-factly, "Big brother has been cultivating Tao sect cultivation techniques for so many years. Didn't you just find out who is the Tao sovereign and who is the Tao ancestor? Don't look at the Tao heart, Tao realm, and Tao foundation. It seems that anyone can answer these questions. Anyone who teaches Tao can talk for 3 days and 3 nights. But who knows if what they say is true? Just like Jingyu Demon Emperor's plot. You already know that he has a plot, and it already exists. You even have a plan in your heart. You have been talking to Big Brother for so long, but you don't know if what you say is true or not. I'm afraid that only when you go to Dongting Demon territory and find Blood Shadow Demon Venerable, who you suspect, will you be able to find out the real source of this plot? Even if you find the so-called source of the plot, will it be true?" "Ugh." Demon Lord Sure hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Big brother, if you want to debate, you should go and chat with Big Brother Buddha. He likes your style more. If you have the time, you should go and deal with Long Shensi. That old man Gu Qiong is already here. Xiaohua looked up. Sure enough, old man Gu Qiong seemed to be worried and had already flown over. However, his complexion was already very good. All right, Xiaohua nodded. He soared at the sky and shouted, "Fellow Taoist Yun, I will lend you a hand." Ha! Why would I need your help to deal with a descendant of a dragon who has turned into a demon? Reverend Yin gave a loud laugh. A golden light burst out from his body as the dragon tail flipped up and smashed onto Long Shensi's dragon blood avatar with a loud boom. Awoo! The dragon blood avatar howled and showed signs of collapsing. But the fiend runes on its surface rose again, and very soon the cracks were mended. Seeing this, Reverend Yin smiled. He knew that he had the body of a true dragon, and using his body to fight against the dragon blood Dharma body was the most direct and effective way. He was sure that he could defeat the dragon blood Dharma body in less than 3 times. Of course, defeating the dragon blood Dharma body would cause the greatest damage to Long Shensi, and the fiend runes could even seize his body. This was not what Xiaohua wanted. Therefore, he opened his mouth and cast the obscure heavenly dragon speech magic. The laws of heaven and earth within 1,000 miles began to change, as if the power of heaven and earth was being bound around Long Shensi. Xiaohua did not know whether to laugh or cry. Fellow Taoist Yun, you are making a mountain out of a molehill, aren't you? Why are you using the heavenly dragon speech magic? Fine, let's see I's way of subduing a dragon. Humph! Reverend Yin withdrew the heavenly dragon speech magic and said disdainfully, "Your way of subduing a dragon is to win people over with virtue. Who doesn't know that?" Haha, it's good that you know it. Xiaohua laughed and waved his right hand. A deafening rumble shook the entire forbidden land of heavenly wind as countless thunderbolts began to gather. Some were the divine thunders of the 9 heavens. Some were the Een thunders of 3 corpses. Some were the righteous thunders of 5 elements. Some were the dark underworld fiend thunders. And some were the amplified thunders of 3 lights. Reverend Yun and Shi were used to Xiaohua's hand of thunder, so they did not think much of it. But when old man Gu Qiong saw it, he was struck dumb again. He had seen the hand of nascent soul and nascent divinity, but these divine abilities could only transform into the size of a few acres. When had he ever seen a hand of thunder that was 100 miles wide? Moreover, he was still far away from the hand of thunder, and the enormous force had already passed through the void and stopped him. He could not imagine how Long Shensi would feel under the hand of thunder. How could Long Shensi feel? The power of life and death in the hand of thunder had completely covered his body, nascent divinity, dragon blood Dharma body, and even his fiend marks and fiend energies. It was as if the heaven and earth had been sealed, and the primordial chaos had ended. He could not even think. With the fiend marks under control, Long Shensi regained his consciousness. A thought that went deep into his bones came into his mind. Damn it! Could it be that an immortal has descended to the mortal realm? This is a divine ability that has surpassed the laws of heaven and earth on the Yi-Lin continent. Boom, boom, boom. The hand of thunder struck 3 times, and the entire forbidden land of heavenly wind shook 3 times. Long Shensi's dragon blood Dharma body was also squeezed to the size of an ordinary person, and its light dimmed a little as it coiled above Long Shensi's head. Long Shensi. Xiaohua looked at Long Shensi and said in a voice as loud as thunder, "You have the mark of the demon race in your bloodline. Now that the mark of the demon race has been activated, you have 2 choices. One is to let the mark of the demon race take over your body, and you will become a complete demon race. At that time, your strength should be 30% stronger than it is now. Even the so-called passing of your lifespan will no longer exist for you. Oh, of course, you don't have to be afraid. This old man will not do anything to you. Moreover, this old man has a good friend who cultivates fiend arts, and he will help you. 2. If you are willing, this old man can remove the fiend chi that has invaded your bloodline. At the same time, I can use a secret technique to erase the fiend mark in your bloodline. and you can still be a pure human. However, at that time, your strength will be 30% weaker than it is now, and you will only be at the void refinement realm. Even your dragon blood dharma body may disappear. As for what path you will take, you can decide for yourself. Senior, who are you? Long Shensi did not answer directly. Instead, he looked at Xiao Hua and asked in a low voice. This old man is Xiao Hua, and my dharma name is Taoist Xiao. Xiao Hua knew that Long Shensi was not at ease, so he calmly replied, Of course, you can also call this old man Zhang Xiao Hiss. Long Shensi sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Xiao Hua in disbelief. He cried out, So you are Zhang? Taoist Xiao. I have searched for him thousands of times in the crowd, but when I look back, that person is in the waning light. It's true. My Heaven Alliance has been searching for Senior for so long, and Senior has indeed appeared at such a critical moment. I have searched for him thousands of times in the crowd, but when I look back, that person is in the waning light. Xiao Hua was a little puzzled and asked, What do you mean? However, Long Shensi did not answer Xiao Hua's question. Instead, he looked at Xiao Hua and asked, Senior, have the last 3 realms of the primordial spirit cultivation technique been perfected? Perfected. Xiao Hua nodded. As long as you recover your human bloodline, this old man will immediately give it to you. Senior, if this junior is possessed, will I be like Taoist Master Jin Sheng and have to listen to the orders of the demon race? Long Shensi asked again. Hearing Long Shensi's answer, Xiao Hua's heart thumped. He already understood what Long Shensi meant. In his heart, he hoped that Long Shensi would wipe away the mark of the demon race and become a clean human. Furthermore, he was also willing to help him recover his original strength. However, Xiao Hua was still willing to respect Long Shensi's choice. He replied honestly, You can rest assured about this. The mark of the demon race in your bloodline is originally yours. When this old man said that you will be possessed, it is actually from the perspective of the human race. Rather than saying that you will be possessed, it is better to say that you will return to your original state. Your previous cultivation experience and everything that you have experienced in the Yi-Lin continent will not be lost. You will step into another world. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 4991. Then, Xiao Hua turned to Reverend Yun and said, Fellow Taoist, please confine the surrounding space. Don't let old man Gu Qiong come here, no problem. Reverend Yin whispered a few words, and a dragon barrier was formed. Old man Gu Qiong, who was blocked by Xiao Hua's thunderous palm, could not move even an inch. Thank you, Senior, for saving face for me and my descendants. A look of gratitude appeared on Long Shensi's face. He wanted to kneel down, but under the thunderous hand, he could do nothing but speak. Therefore, he pleaded again, If Senior has the time, I hope Senior can go to Dragon God Mountain and help Junior see if there are any other descendants like me. I can't agree to this request. Xiao Hua shook his head and said, I don't have much time, and, to be honest, it's already good that you're the only one in this world. It's unlikely that there will be a second one like you. You're right. Long Shensi understood and said with a smile, If there were a second one, Reverend Jin Sheng wouldn't have come to me. Xiao Hua's expression remained unchanged as he urged, The other cultivators of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance are here. If you've made up your mind, tell me at once. Otherwise, I can only let you be a human. I choose to be a demon. Long Shensi's feelings were the same as Xiao Hua's. He was reluctant to give up his identity as a human. After all, he had lived for hundreds of thousands of years, and everything about the human race was engraved in his heart. He might not covet the increase in strength or the increase in lifespan, but he clearly knew the consequences of a decline in his strength. What about the position of the Heaven Alliance's leader? What about the position in the sect? What about the clan? What about the old enemies? There might not be many people who would add flowers to a brocade, but there were certainly many who would hit a man when he was down. It was better to have a Heaven Alliance's leader whose name would go down in history, than to have Long Shensi, whose reputation was fading. Therefore, Long Shensi did not choose the human race as Xiao Hua expected. I respect your choice. Xiao Hua nodded faintly, then secretly released the Mengyi butterfly and said to Reverend Yun, fellow Taoist, you can remove the barrier and let the other cultivators in. All right. Reverend Yun nodded in agreement. Suddenly, Xiao Hua's thunderous palm unleashed a blinding thunderbolt, while he bellowed, Long Shensi, have you come to your senses? If you continue to sink into the demonic path, I won't be able to help you. Although Xiao Hua's hand of thunder and lightning surged into the sky, the Tao of life and death within it had already been unleashed. Long Shensi's dragon blood dharma body charged out once again. The devil runes had already seeped into the surface of the dragon blood dharma body as if they were carved by a knife. Dense devil chi and blood smoke began to cover the dharma body. Ha! Who is Long Shensi? Who are you? How dare you stop me? The dragon blood dharma body roared unyieldingly. Although the voice belonged to the dragon god, it was devoid of any human emotions. Xiao Huan knew that he was putting on an act, but the emotions in his words were real. Since it has come to this point, even if this old man wants to let you go, I'm afraid I can't. Just because you're the Alliance Master of the Heaven Alliance, this old man can't possibly allow a possessed demon to remain in the Yi-Lin continent. Since you made your choice, don't regret it. Roar! 2 drops of tears flowed out of the dragon god's eyes as he gave a loud roar and charged towards Xiao Hua. He knew very well that from this moment on, this supreme cultivator of the human race, Long Shensi, would no longer exist in this world. Everything in this world would have nothing to do with him. Senior, at this point in time, all the cultivators of the Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance had arrived. They had witnessed the madness of Long Shensi and the mercy of Xiao Hua. Bright Moon Householder, Yang Xia, Kong Chang, and Holy Mother of Earth Spirit opened their mouths, wanting to implore Xiao Hua to show mercy. But they only said 2 words and then shut their mouths. Apart from Xiao Hua, who else could be a match for the Alliance Master of the Heaven Alliance who had fallen into the demonic path? If they didn't ask Xiao Hua to help them, who else could do it in the future? In the face of righteousness, everyone knew what to do. Boom! Xiao Hua's lightning hand did not disappoint them in the slightest. Blood splattered everywhere the large hand grabbed, and there was even a primordial spirit that was dyed pitch black and blood red flying out from within the bloodlight. However, a demonic pillar that descended soon after dispelled everyone's worries. That demonic pillar covered the bloodlight and the primordial spirit, and a gigantic tornado-like suction force brought the scattered demonic chi into the demonic godlike body of the Overlord Demon Lord. When Xiao Hua's lightning hand dissipated, everything related to Long Shensi had turned into smoke and clouds. Alas! Xiao Hua let out a long sigh and withdrew all his divine powers. He wanted to return to his original form, but under the remnant laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm, he could only transform into a Dharma body that was hundreds of feet tall. Xiao Hua landed on the ground, and old man Gu Qiong had already come over to greet him. Xiao Hua's face was filled with true melancholy as he cupped his hands and said, I'm sorry, I broke my promise. You're too kind. Since old man Gu Qiong could activate the dream of the world, he naturally had the ability to see through the illusion. However, this time, he clearly saw that under the thunderous hand, everything was obliterated, and Long Shensi's primordial spirit was devoured by the terrifying demon venerable next to him. He didn't dare to doubt anything, so he hurriedly bowed and said, We have to thank you, Senior. However, old man Gu Qiong said awkwardly, Senior, please don't blame me. I said it from the perspective of the Taoist faction, not the Taoist Alliance. Bright Moon Householder of the Heavenly Alliance can explain the specific situation. Well, that's fine. Xiao Hua nodded. However, you have to be a witness. After all, Long Shensi is the leader of the Heavenly Alliance. Senior, please rest assured. Old man Guqiong looked at the people of the Heavenly Alliance who were flying over from afar and replied, "After all, they all saw that Long Shensi fell into the trap of the demon clan. Anyone would attack a demonized Long Shensi. Moreover, to be honest, if you didn't help us today, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to deal with a demonized Long Shensi." After a short while, Bright Moon Householder arrived with the members of the Heavenly Alliance, and Taoist Jian arrived with the members of the Tao Alliance. Everyone witnessed Xiao Hua crushing the demonic dragon godchild's divine might with a single palm strike, and none of them dared to be negligent. They stood in midair and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Senior Xiao." "Greetings, seniors." Bright Moon Householder led the members of the Heavenly Alliance to greet Elder Guqiong first, while Jian took the opportunity to fly to Elder Guqiong's side to greet Elder Guqiong again. "You all can get up." Xiao Hua wasn't surprised. He raised his hand to help the supreme cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance and Taoist Alliance up and said, "What happened today was just a coincidence, but it was also inevitable. Since I ran into you, it means I'm also fated to meet you. I'll listen to your explanation." "Yes, I understand. The Heavenly Alliance was the instigator, and Bright Moon Householder didn't dare to neglect this matter." He replied respectfully, "I will surely report the whole sequence of events to all of you." "Haha, you can tell us now." The Thunderbolt Immortal became impatient when he saw these cultivators being so respectful. He looked into the distance and said, "Fellow Taoist Heavenly Tao is controlling the Kunlun mirror alone over there. I'm afraid he's not strong enough. Let's go and help him." All right." Xiao Hua nodded and said with a smile, "After all, the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Area is a realm crack, but I'm afraid fellow Taoist Heavenly Tao can't deal with the power of an entire realm alone. Thank you for your help. Let's go." The Thunderbolt Immortal waved his hand, and Taoist Witch, Reverend Yun, and the others whistled away, leaving the restless crowd behind. "Senior," Old Man Guqiong asked tentatively, "do you want us to go and help him?" "Your strength. Forget it," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "Besides, you'll consume your lifespan if you use your magic power. How can I trouble you?" Yes. Old Man Guqiong smiled apologetically. Then he rolled his eyes and begged in a low voice, "Senior, can you give some of the pills you just gave me to the juniors of the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao Alliance?" Old Man Guqiong wanted to mention the Tao Alliance, but when he saw Xiao Hua asking the Heavenly Alliance to stay, he knew that Xiao Hua wanted to protect the juniors of the Tao Alliance. Therefore, he hurriedly mentioned the Heavenly Alliance as well. The people of the Heavenly Alliance looked at Xiao Hua and Old Man Guqiong in confusion. "It's not easy to refine these pills. Otherwise, I'll give you the recipe as well," Xiao Hua said as he took out the rejuvenation pill from his space. Xiao Hua knew that the rejuvenation pill could only restore youth for cultivators below the spirit-severing stage. For the supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent, like Old Man Guqiong, the rejuvenation pill could only replenish their lifespan. Seeing this, Old Man Guqiong hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Since this pill is so precious, please forgive me." "Ah, a pill that replenishes lifespan?" Not to mention Bright Moon Householder. Even Reverend Jian's eyes lit up. Everyone looked at Xiao Hua anxiously. "Oh, it's okay," Xiao Hua said as he waved his Taoist robe. A jade bottle appeared in front of everyone. "What I mean is that only I can refine these pills. Even if you take the recipe, it's useless. Junior will accept it." Old Man Guqiong took the jade bottle and said respectfully, "You're welcome. You don't have much lifespan left, so you should take some more," Xiao Hua said as he thoughtfully gave another jade bottle to Old Man Guqiong. "Senior." Old Man Guqiong suddenly choked with sobs. He hadn't experienced the feeling of being cared for by others for tens of thousands of years. Now that he felt it again and again, he couldn't hide his feelings. Xiao Hua said with a serious face, "I'm giving you this pill not only for the sake of the Yilin continent. Long Shensi has died because of the devil. You're probably the strongest person in the Heavenly Alliance and Taoist Alliance on the Yilin continent. I think you have a good heart. You even spoke up for me at the Taoist Alliance's meeting. Therefore, I hope you can act impartially and consider the overall situation of the Taoist Alliance. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Yin, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Chapter 4992. Ji and Jinren and the others blushed, and the jade bottle in their hands was as hot as charcoal. However, when they stole a glance at Bright Moon Householder's expression, Ji and Jinren was slightly relieved. He knew that the Heavenly Alliance was not much stronger than him. Elder Gu Qiong took the jade bottle and saluted respectfully. Since I have taken your elixir, I will do my best for the stability of the Yi-Lin continent. However, after saying that, Elder Gu Qiong changed his mind and said, "Of course, since you have shown up, the Tao Alliance and the Heavenly Alliance will follow your lead. I am an outsider, and so are the rest of you. We won't stay in the Yi-Lin continent for long, so you don't have to consider us." Xiao Hua understood what Elder Gu Qiong meant. He waved his hand and said with a smile, "You can take the elixir as a gift for my first meeting with you." "Yes, thank you, Senior." Everyone was relieved and took the rejuvenation elixir with gratitude and regret. "Senior," Ji and Jinren plucked up his courage and asked tentatively, "Are you a cultivator from the Lost Land?" "Haha, as expected, there are smart people here." Xiao Hua laughed loudly. "This old man's origins have been discovered by you all. Come sit down and talk." After saying that, Xiao Hua raised his hand and pointed. Dozens of jade tables and futons appeared out of thin air. Then, as Xiao Hua waved his Taoist robe, spiritual fruits, spiritual wine, and other things also appeared. Seeing that, everyone was even more shocked. They knew that, as the supreme cultivators of the Yi-Lin continent, they could make something out of nothing with their understanding of the laws of heaven and earth in other places of the Yi-Lin continent. However, they were in the forbidden land of heaven and earth. Although Xiao Hua had set up a bounded domain, the laws of heaven and earth in the Yi-Lin continent were chaotic, and the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm were even more unruly. Without a deep understanding of the laws of heaven and earth, it was impossible to make these jade tables and futons out of thin air. This kind of magical ability was even more powerful than Xiao Hua's ability to crush Long Shensi with his own strength. Of course, everyone also understood the meaning of Xiao Hua's intimidation, so no one dared to say anything. They hurriedly bowed and obediently sat down, quietly listening to Xiao Hua's explanation. When Xiao Hua saw that everyone had sat down, he raised his cup and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, you are the hosts of the Yi-Lin continent, and this old man is a guest. This old man has not been invited to the Yi-Lin continent, and has rashly passed through the Yi-Lin continent. Of course, this old man has offended you somewhat. This old man will first toast to everyone, as a form of thanks and an apology." Once Xiao Hua's words came out, how could anyone still sit down? They all stood up and picked up their wine cups, saying, "Senior, you are too courteous. Since this is a lost land, it is also a part of the Yi-Lin continent. Senior is naturally the owner. There is no need to be so—" "Haha, come, please," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "This is spirit wine brewed from the immortal peaches of Imperial Empress Confucianism, and it has the ability to replenish one's lifespan. Everyone, there's no need to worry about anything." Hearing that the spirit wine could also replenish one's lifespan, Old Man Gu Qiong and the others were overjoyed and drank a cup with Xiao Hua. After putting down the wine cup, everyone sat down cross-legged and closed their eyes to adjust their breathing. In just a moment, everyone's faces were filled with joy. When everyone opened their eyes, Xiao Hua raised his cup again and said, "Since everyone has just said that the Lost Land is a part of the Yi-Lin continent, then regardless of whether it is the Tao Alliance or the Heaven Alliance, you are also the masters of the Yi-Lin continent. This old man thanks you for everything you have done for the Tao sect all these years. This toast is to all of you, and also to the previous seniors of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance. Thank you, Senior." All the cultivators were happy and raised their cups. After drinking the third cup, Xiao Hua stood up. Everyone knew what Xiao Hua was going to say, so they hurriedly stood up and waited for Xiao Hua to speak. Xiao Hua opened his mouth and wanted to reprimand them, but he swallowed his words. After all, they were all supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent, and they might not be younger than him. If they wanted to hear what he wanted to say, he didn't even need to say it, because they already knew what he wanted to say. However, if they didn't want to hear what he wanted to say, they might not listen to him even if he wanted to say it. What he had more than them was the responsibility of saving the world. What he had more than them was his experience in the 10,000 demon realm. Therefore, Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said, "Everyone, please sit down." Everyone was puzzled, but they still sat down. Xiao Hua placed the wine cup on the jade table and glanced at the supreme cultivators one by one. He said, "I'm drinking this third cup because I hope that the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance can reconcile and focus on the development of our Tao sect. However, I think that if I force you to form an alliance, even if you agree and drink the third cup, you won't be convinced. After I leave, you'll take action again. Not only will my efforts be in vain, but you might also hurt the party who is willing to form an alliance. Therefore, let's wait for a while and make a decision after I tell you about my experience. What do you think?" Old man Guqiong looked at Ji Yin, spiritual master, and the others and nodded. He said, "We are willing to listen to Senior's arrangement." Bright Moon Householder didn't want to fall behind and said with a smile, "We are also, haha, very good." Xiao Hua said, and pointed at the peach on the jade table. He said, "This is the peach used to make wine. Taste it first, and I will tell you about it later." Then Xiao Hua told them about the situation of the Dawn Rain continent, the situation of the 3 continents, and his experience in the 10,000 demon realm. Old man Guqiong and the others were dumbfounded. They even forgot about the peach. They didn't expect that Xiao Hua, a great sage of the human clan who was listed in the 10,000 demon realm saint list, was a cultivator who had cultivated for less than 1,000 years. They didn't even expect that there was a mysterious immortal array between the 3 continents and the Yilin continent. On the other side of the immortal array, there were Confucian cultivators, Buddhist sect, and the demon clan. There was even a Tao sect whose orthodoxy was almost destroyed. After he finished speaking, Xiao Hua listened for a moment and looked at the crowd again. He said, "Everyone, think about it. The Dawn Rain continent is a lost land. The famous big sect of the country of Shi, the Imperial Thunder sect, is not as big as the small Channa sect of the Tao Alliance of the Yilin continent. The Dawn Rain continent lacks all kinds of cultivation methods and elixir recipes. It might not even have a Mahayana cultivator. What about the Tao sects of the 3 continents? They have cultivation methods and elixir recipes, but they don't have an environment to cultivate. The Buddhist sect, Confucian cultivators, and the demon clan are like 3 mountains pressing down on them. They don't even have a chance to turn things around. In the 10,000 demon realm, there are no humans, only demon spirits. The humans that this old man brought with the Kunlun mirror have probably been discovered by the demon spirits. They are in danger of being exterminated. If they don't develop, they will soon disappear from the 10,000 demon realm. Let's not talk about the Tao sects. Let's talk about the humans." Xiao Hua continued, "Although the human clan of the hidden immortal continent and the Pure Land world are Confucian cultivators and Buddhist cultivators, they are still humans, living humans. Right now, they are in an abyss of suffering, in a situation where they are constantly being killed by the strange insect from the upper realm. Their hope seems to be placed on me and the other fellow Taoists, but in reality, they don't have much hope. After all, breaking the immortal formation isn't something that can be easily done by the cultivators from the mortal realm. But they haven't given up hope and are still fighting against the world-exterminating ephemera. What are they fighting against? The reproduction of a human race, the survival of the human race. Look at all of you. Look at the prosperous Yilin continent of our Tao sects. What are you all doing? You have more cultivation methods than the abandoned land, too many elixir recipes, too many magic treasures. You can cultivate whatever you want, but what do you do after you cultivate? After you succeed in cultivating, you kill. Dao sect cultivators. On the hidden immortal continent, what does an excellent Dao sect cultivator face? It is the suppression of Confucian cultivators, Buddhist sects, and the demon clan. It is possible that he will die before he can cultivate to the nascent soul stage. What do the cultivators of the Yi-Lin continent have to face? It is the cultivation of the sect, the Dao Alliance, or the Heaven Alliance. He may cultivate to the Mahayana stage. But what if he cultivates to the Mahayana stage? What is he doing? What he does is still killing Dao sect disciples. What about the 10,000 demon realm? This old man won't talk about it. The human race is fighting for survival, and they have too much to do. At this point, Xiao Hua suddenly felt a little tired. He waved his hand and said weakly, "This old man doesn't want to say more. After all, you don't know this, but you are all humans. Although you have the inheritance of a Dao master and a Dao ancestor, you are both Dao sect's inheritances. You can't write two Dao characters. Even if you're fighting for one Dao character, you can't kill each other." Moreover, when this old man entered the heavenly wind forbidden land, I met a dead Mahayana cultivator. Who is this old man? Before he died, he shouted, "Don't kill each other. Everyone, kill each other. We are from the same root. So why are you in such a hurry to kill each other? This wine, just leave it here. This old man won't persuade you to drink. If you want to drink, drink. If you don't want to drink, this old man won't force you. Everyone has their own ambitions, and everyone has their own path of cultivation. This Yilin continent belongs to you, not this old man. You can decide for yourselves where you want to go." Senior, old man Gu Qiong, and the others were moved. They stood up and said, "It's all our fault. We are sorry to the ancestors of Dao sects, sorry to Senior, and sorry to Shiyu." After saying that, old man Gu Qiong knelt down. Xiao Hua was shocked and hurriedly tried to help him up. However, he didn't help him up. Old man Gu Qiong raised his wine cup and said to the sky, "I, Gu Qiong, swear to the Dao master of the Taoist sect that from now on, I will no longer regard the Heavenly Alliance as the Dao Alliance, nor will I start a war between the Heavenly Alliance and the Dao Alliance. From now on, the Dao Alliance is willing to join hands with the Heavenly Alliance again and face each other calmly as brothers in order to overcome the tribulation of heaven and earth. If I violate this oath, P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a reward, and Chapter 4993. After old man Gu Qiong made the blood oath, he drank all the spiritual wine in his cup. Then he stood up proudly as if he had put down a heavy burden. Bright Moon Householder didn't hesitate, and he also knelt on the ground. He raised his wine cup and swore to the Heavenly Alliance. "I, Bright Moon, swear to the Dao sect's Dao ancestor in front of Senior Shao that from today onwards, I won't dare to treat the Dao Alliance as the Heavenly Alliance, and I won't dare to start a war between the Heavenly Alliance and the Dao Alliance. My Heavenly Alliance is willing to join hands with the Dao Alliance again, and we will face each other with brotherly affection. If I violate this oath..." Bright Moon Householder's words were the same as old man Gu Qiong's, but his tone was slightly different. After he made the blood oath, he also drank all the spiritual wine. Venerable Ji Yin and the other cultivators of the Dao faction and the Heavenly Alliance weren't as far-sighted as Xiao Hua. However, they also saw the need to reconcile after Venerable Shiyu's death. Therefore, they didn't hesitate and knelt down to make the oath. However, Yang Xiao was a little special. He didn't say Dao Master or Dao Faction, but Dao Master. Xiao Hua understood and didn't ask any more questions. In the end, when everyone stood up, Xiao Hua picked up his wine cup and knelt down to the sky, saying, "Junior Xiao Hua thanks Dao Ancestor and Dao Master for their gifts once again. Junior will definitely pass on the wishes and gifts of the other Dao sect disciples to the Yi-Lin continent. In addition, Junior has never seen Dao Master's true appearance, but Junior will not disregard Dao Master's orthodoxy. Based on the cultivation method of the 9 transformations golden pill and what Junior has learned, I will also point out the cultivation direction of Lin Continent's disciples. Junior also swears here that no matter when, no matter where, no matter where, Junior will always be a disciple of Taoism. Junior will always place the inheritance of Taoism first. Junior will never kill anyone. Sect is a disciple of Taoism in this world. After Xiao Hua finished speaking, he didn't even have time to drink the wine. Suddenly, a voice sounded and a vast light flew out of Xiao Hua's body. Wasn't that the Tao Master? Tao, a master? Old man Gu Qiong and the others were dumbfounded. Their memories of the Tao Alliance conference suddenly came back to them, and they didn't dare to be negligent. They hurriedly knelt and kowtowed. Unfortunately, the statue of the Tao sovereign was just an illusion. It didn't care about them at all and rushed up into the sky. The gloominess that was originally covered by the laws of heaven and earth, that even Xiao Hua couldn't expel, immediately disappeared. The Tao sovereign once again turned into light fragments and scattered in all directions and disappeared. When they saw this, how could Gu Qiong and the others dare to doubt Xiao Hua's words in the slightest? However, before old man Gu Qiong and the others could get up, another boundless figure flew out from Xiao Hua's body. Wasn't that the Tao ancestor? Tao ancestor? Bright Moon householder, Yang Xia, and the others, who were still hesitating whether they should kneel or not, didn't dare to treat him with disrespect, and they hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. The Tao ancestor was similar to the Tao venerable, and he only uttered a single word before he soared into the sky and turned into fragments of fireflies that scattered in the horizon. The Tao venerable and the Tao ancestor had left, and the chaotic laws of the heavenly wind forbidden land fell down again. However, old man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon householder still didn't dare to get up. They were afraid that another Tao master would fly out from Xiao Hua's body. Xiao Hua raised his cup and signaled to the sky. He drank in one gulp, then stood up and said, "Everyone, please get up. I've only seen the wills of the Tao ancestor and the Tao venerable. I've never seen the Tao master. He won't fly on my body." Yang Xian knew that this was an opportunity, and he hurriedly got up and presented several jade slips to Xiao Hua. He said respectfully, "Senior, this is the 9-transformation golden core cultivation technique that the Xian Alliance practiced in the Yilin continent. Senior, please modify it." The Xian Alliance? Xiao Hua was taken aback, and he smiled bitterly. He took the jade slips and asked, "There used to be a Xian Alliance in the Yilin continent. What about now? Where did the Xian Alliance go?" Just as Yang Xia was about to answer, Xiao Hua came back to his senses, and he hurriedly raised his hand and said, "Everyone, please get up. We are disciples of the Tao faction, and we don't have any grudges against each other anymore." Even the Tao ancestor and the Tao venerable praised the alliance between the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao faction. So, how can we go against our two ancestors? I certainly don't dare. Old man Gu Qiong laughed happily, and he walked toward Bright Moon householder. He stretched out his hand and said, "Bright Moon, I didn't expect that I would have a chance to join hands with you." Bright Moon householder didn't hesitate, and he raised his hand and shook old man Gu Qiong's hand. He sighed and said, "Senior, we should have joined hands long ago. If we hadn't joined hands with you, our Tao faction would have been exterminated. We wouldn't have had any other path to take." Both of them shook hands, and this moment would be engraved in the history of the Tao faction in the Yilin continent. Alas, as long as we are alive, as long as we join hands, there's no such thing as sooner or later. Yang Xia sighed, and he looked at Reverend Ji Yen. He also raised his hand and said, "It's a pity that that's right." Reverend Ji Yan's face was even more sorrowful. He shook Yang Xia's hand and said, "It's a pity that this child wanted to be reincarnated into a world without Tao factions, and we couldn't satisfy him. You don't have to worry about that." Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, right? I've already satisfied his request, so you don't have to worry." Xiao Hua's words were really shocking. Reverend Ji Yin and Yang Xia shouted in disbelief. "What? Senior, what do you mean? You don't need to know what I mean. Xiao Hua blinked his eyes and said with a smile, You just need to know that I can satisfy his wish with my divine ability. You'd better sit down and tell me that it's the Xian Alliance. Reverend Ji Yin and Yang Xia looked at each other, and they bowed at the same time and said, So that's how it is. Then we thank Senior Xiao on behalf of Shi Yu. Then everyone sat down, and Yang Xia roughly told them about the Xian Alliance. Xiao Hua's face was also sad. He finally understood why the Swift Cherry Grand Sage didn't want the human clan to reproduce in the 10,000 demon realm. It turned out that she had already suffered a great loss. However, when he thought about how the 10,000 demon realm had killed so many cultivators of the Xian Alliance, Xiao Hua's guilt for bringing the human clan over had long disappeared. Heaven and earth were heartless and treated all living things as straw dogs. All living things were survival of the fittest. As a human, Xiao Hua could certainly judge others by his own standards and consider the 10,000 demon realms demons. However, when it came to a critical moment, he still had to think for the human clan. Perhaps it's time to consider how to bring the human clan of the 4 great continents to the 10,000 demon realm. This thought involuntarily appeared in Xiao Hua's mind. Unfortunately, after a short moment, he strangled this thought to death. Xiao Hua wasn't a Tao sovereign, nor was he a Tao ancestor. How could he accomplish something that even a Tao lord couldn't? Tell me about Shi Yu. What's going on? Xiao Hua asked again after listening. Shi Yu. Yang Xia's face turned a little ugly at the mention of Shi Yu. Previously, he wanted to evade Xiao Hua several times, but it seemed that Xiao Hua was determined to cause trouble. Thus, he looked at Ji Yinjinren. Ji Yinjinren's face was even darker than Yang Xia's. Although the two of them had sworn an alliance and wouldn't really do anything, the resentment in his heart wouldn't be resolved by a few words from Xiao Hua. Therefore, Ji Yinjinren's eyes turned as if there was a beautiful woman beside him. Yang Xia was helpless. After all, he was the instigator. He coughed and explained the cause of the matter. When Yang Xia was speaking, no one uttered a word. Apart from Yang Xia, the 3 people of the Heaven Alliance, Bright Moon Householder, Kong Chang, and Earth Spirit Goddess, the 6 people of the Tao Alliance, Old Man Gu Qiong, Ji Yinjinren, Yi Clan's ancestor, Wanderer Fu Bo, Yu Hongzi, and Fairy Mo Yin. Which one of them hadn't done such a thing? Yang Xia was only mentioned by Xiao Hua. If it were someone else, they might have said more. After Yang Xia finished speaking, Xiao Hua looked at Ji Yinjinren calmly and asked, Ji Yin, what about you? Ji Yinjinren bit his lips lightly and replied sincerely, I told you before that when Shi Yu left, I told him to put his own safety first and focus on his cultivation first. Alas! Old Man Gu Qiong sighed and waved his hand. You don't have to say anymore. I saw the whole story clearly. Shi was a good boy with deep feelings. He understood the intentions of the masters on both sides and wanted the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance to reconcile. Unfortunately, his words carried little weight, and he was just a chess piece. Even if he spoke, no one would listen to him. However, he didn't want to disappoint the masters on both sides. In the end, he had no choice but to force himself into a dead end. That's right. Ji Yinjinren nodded. If it were someone else, they would have had a choice. However, this boy, he really made my heart ache. Bright Moon Householder looked all around and said, Only 10 or 20% of the Heavenly Alliance and Tao Alliance's leaders have gathered here today, and there are some matters that we can't decide today. Although we can't make a decision today, I promise you, as the deputy leader of the Heaven Alliance, that we'll hold a meeting today and ask all the sects to recall their disciples immediately. Good. Old Man Gu Qiong clapped his hands and said, Since you're so sincere, I'll make a statement on behalf of the disciples of the Tao Alliance. The Tao Alliance will also recall their disciples as soon as possible. Wait. Xiao Hua was very happy to hear that the 2 alliances were reconciling. However, he suddenly interrupted them. Oh. Startled, everyone stopped talking and looked at Xiao Hua. At this time, Xiao Hua had almost become the incarnation of a Tao master and a Tao ancestor. No one dared to slack off in front of him. Xiao Hua said with a smile, The disciples that you sent to each other's immortal alliances were all sent there when they were young, right? Since they grew up in each other's immortal alliances, their relationship with each other might be deeper than that of the previous immortal alliances. Instead of recalling them, it would be better for them to live and cultivate as they did before. What you need to do is to take away the mission that is hanging above their heads. Yes, we've been careless. Ji Jinren nodded hurriedly and said, if Shiyu is willing to stay in our Chongshi sect, he won't return to Mei Xianling. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and reward it. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.